Yeah! All right. Woo! That's what we're doing. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. Yeah! Wow, a full house. This is what I love to see. Hello and welcome to Penguin Live, where you have the best seat in the house for the best magic in the world. I'm your host, Dan Harlan. Thank you so much for supporting live magic. Now, as you've heard, we've got a full house for the guy that's here because he is exceptionally entertaining as well as mystifying. He was the first person to ever fool Penn Teller on the pilot episode of Penn Teller Fool Us when they were filming it over in the UK. He's a member of the Inner Magic Circle with Gold Star. Sounds fancy. He's also the British Magical Champion of Comedy, the Magic Circle Stage Magician of the Year. He's won the Carlton Comedy Award for outstanding use of comedy and magic. He's been called the best comedy magician in the UK, and I believe it. Please welcome John Archer.
Wow. Wow.
Hey, John.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you. Oh! Wow. Ah. Shucks. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's hope that you're still that enthusiastic when we finish in 7 hours' time. It is true, I have been called the best comedy magician in the UK. Unfortunately, it was me that called me that. So it's not so good. So we're going to have fun. We're going to do a lecture. As you know, most of what I do is comedy magic, and a lot of what I do is comedy mentalism, which is a bit of a weird sort of thing. But I never really box anything. So I do what I do. I'm not bothered whether people call me a comedian, a magician, a mentalist, so long as they pay me. That's the basic. That's the basic rule I'm looking for. So I'm going to show you a lot of stuff that I do. Some of the things I'll talk about are not really about the tricks. I'll explain everything. But some of the most important things, I think, are either how I came up with the idea, or why I came up with the idea, or the little details. And I think that's what you'll gain most from, are the little details. So I'm going to start with a little thing, and I need a couple to help me here. Have we got any couples here who are either married or been going out for a while? Two here, excellent. You're not sure whether you're married or you're going out. You're like, I think we are. Are we still a couple? So are you a couple? Are you married or dating or?
1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary. Wow! Give me a round of applause. When was that? So when was the 1 year anniversary?
2 days ago.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 2 years ago. That wouldn't work, would it? 2 days ago. Congratulations. Would you come up and join me? Give them a big round of applause to come up. That's great. You can come and stand over here. We'll find out who you are. So your name is?
Renata.
Renata. Wonderful, beautiful name. And your name?
Steve.
Steve. Quite a dull name. Never mind. Steve and Renata. I like the look. You saw that General Custer who's just forgotten what he's meant to be wearing type look. Excellent, excellent. So Steve and Renata, and you've been married a year. Mm-hmm. Wow. How long were you dating before you got married?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
A long time.
3 years?
Yes.
3 years. Oh, that's not too bad. So you've been together 4 years now. Do you know each other quite well?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Never apart.
He's doubtful about everything. Yes, he's like, I don't know. Let her decide. No, because I'm always interested in how when people get together in the bed. I mean, I've been married. Sorry, ladies, but I've been married. I've been married for too long, basically. No, I've been married for 30 years. I think. Have I? Something like that. It's a long time. Yeah, I look it, don't I? Thanks a lot. Imagine how long your hair will be after 30 years. And it won't be that colour, I can guarantee. No, so, but you get to know each other. You get to know each other, and eventually you start to think like each other. Has that started happening yet? Do you do that thing where sometimes you finish off each other's sentences?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we do that. My wife often finishes off my. In fact, sometimes she'll even start my sentences. In fact, sometimes I'll just sit there and listen and find out what I've said. It's interesting. So I thought I'd find out how well you got to know each other, you see, because you've only been married a year, but you've been together 4 years, you may know each other quite well. The way we're going to do that is I'm going to try and find out whether you can work out Renata's mind, Steve. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all, Renata, I'm going to ask you to choose a card, and then Steve's going to try and work out what you've done. I don't want you to see what's going on, Steve, so would you mind just turning facing that way, looking at Dan? I know it's not an ideal scenario, but that's... can you just move that way a little bit? That's wonderful. It's just, you were annoying me. You were a little bit close. And Renata, we're going to do a little card thing with you. So what I'd like you to do, we've got a deck of cards here. I think you can see they're a regular deck of cards. They're all different. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm just going to ask you to choose one of these cards. So I'm just going to spread through the cards. And as I spread through them, all I want you to do is just to touch the back of any card at all. Just touch the back of a card. That one there? You sure? Okay, now I don't want anybody to see it. Would you just look at that card? Are you happy with it? Could you remember that card for me?
Yes.
That's all right. Do you want to shuffle the cards or anything?
No, thanks.
You can if you want to. You can give them a little shuffle. Give them a little shuffle. Just sort of mix them up. Wonderful. Steve, you don't know what's going on. Is that right? Perfect. That's called married life. Okay. Excellent. Renata, do you mind swapping spaces now, with places with Steve? Steve, would you come over here?
Yes.
Wonderful. You're finding that turning round thing a little bit difficult there, weren't you, Steve? Weren't sure how it was done without being told by Renata. Wonderful. Okay. So, Steve, Renata's chosen one of these cards. Your job is to try and work out which card she's thought of. Okay, so we've got a deck of cards here. I'd like you to take the cards.
Okay.
You'll have a look through. You see they're all different. And what I want you to do is just to look through the cards. And when you find a card that you think Renata might have chosen, just take it out and hold it to your chest. Now, there's nothing on there telling you what might have been chosen. Just take out any card, hold it to your chest. Wonderful. Okay. Renata, you can turn round. This is amazing. Okay, here's what's going to happen. In a moment, Renata, he is going to shout out the name of the card. And then he's going to turn and show it to the audience and the cameras. That's very important. If he gets your card right, I want you to jump up high in the air. All right? So you're almost as tall as me. And hold out your arms like this and say, yes, that was my card. Okay? This audience will go wild. He's read your mind. You were meant for each other. But if he's wrong, don't say what the card was. Just stay still and say, Steve, you're wrong. I'm sure you've said that many times already. Okay. So, Steve, for the first time, would you just name the card and show everybody? What was the card you thought she was thinking of?
8 of clubs.
Woo! Steve, you're wrong.
Never mind. Steve, I know why that went wrong. You're a man. You see, men, we're not good at doing that multitasking. Women will always tell you they're good at the multitasking. That's right, isn't it, ladies? Yeah? You think you can do the multitasking. And it's true, you can do lots of things, but men, we can only do one thing at a time. And the problem you had is you had too much to do. You had to look through the cards, you had to think what she was thinking, you had to find one. The problem you had, Renata, is you didn't have enough to do. No, you wanted lots more. You didn't have enough to do. So what we need to do is make it slightly easier for you, Steve, slightly more difficult for you, Renata. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to take this pad, Renata, and take a pen, and just step back. And in a moment, I'm going to ask you to draw a picture of your card. Imagine that pad is a big playing card, and the full size of the page, draw a picture of your card. Steve, all you're going to do is take the cards, but this time, you don't have to look, you don't have to think, you don't have to do anything. You can do as much as you like. You can hum a tune in your head, you can tap dance, draw the picture of your card, send the thought to Steve. All you do, Steve, is deal the cards face down onto my hand one at a time. Whenever you feel the urge, Steve, you stop. It's entirely up to you. Steve, away you go, start dealing the cards. Renata, start drawing your picture. That's it. Nice and quick. Steve's dealing the cards. She's sending the thought to you. She's thinking about things. She's humming to herself. She's tap dancing very, very quietly. You're thinking to yourself, all I have to do is stop. Don't think about anything else. Excellent. Oh, you stopped drawing. You stopped dealing at the same time. Spooky. Do you want this card or do you want that one? That one. Okay, just take it and hold it to your chest. I'll take the rest of the cards from you. Okay. Same thing, Renata. In a moment, Steve, you're going to turn your card round. You're going to show the card that you stopped at. You're going to shout out its name. If he's right, you jump high in the air. You turn the pad round. You show everybody that he's got it right. If he's wrong, you just say, Steve, you're wrong. Steve, go!
6 of hearts.
Yes! Woohoo! Give Steve a big round of applause. Thank you, Steve. Renata. Thank you, Renata. You can take your seats now. Thank you very much. Okay. First of all, the reason I came up with this trick is I I find my strength on stage is when I've got people with me. When I'm working with people, if I haven't got people on stage, you will find a lot of time, and we'll see some stuff that we recorded last night in a show, some of the things. I'll pick on the audience a lot. That's my dynamic, that's my personality. So I like tricks that I have people on stage with me. It's where I can ad-lib and I can play around with my sense of humour. And I wanted a trick that was a little bit like anniversary waltz. Do you know the trick anniversary waltz? It's a beautiful little card trick. 2 cards are chosen by a man and a woman, and they're signed, and then you end up with a double-faced card that's got the signature on both sides. And I love that effect, mainly because I like the feeling it gives that, that those two are meant for each other. So I wanted to do a trick that sort of played with that idea of a couple and them being on stage and then showing that they were meant to be together and they had some sort of affinity with each other. And so I came up with the idea of one person choosing a card and the other one knowing what it is. Can you answer that? I can't do everything. Thank you very much. And so I came up with this idea of one person choosing a card and the other one trying to find out what it is. And the method was a method that I had for another trick, which you'll see soon enough. Basically just switching a deck. And the whole effect is it's a force of a card and a deck switch. Okay? So I switched the deck at the end for a deck of cards that are all the 6 of hearts. Okay? That means it's very easy for Steve to find the card that Renata is thinking of, providing I've forced the right card. And it did happen once that I didn't, and then he stood no chance, to be honest. But the way the switch works is it's basically, it's not quite how I would normally do it in my performance, because I haven't brought my own table with me. But in my own show, I have a small Spiderflex table, and I have a cloth on it which has a savant at the back, which is a French word for savant. Effectively, it's a pocket that you can drop things in. So today I've just used this table, which has got like a little well at the back. I'm going to turn around and show you all the ugliness of it now. And I'll show you how the switch works. First of all, I'll show you the switch and then I'll show you the force that I used. You can use any force. So this is my regular deck that was switched out. And this is my forcing deck, all the 6 of hearts. Now what I do is I balance this on the edge of my table. Remember, there'd be a big pocket here. And then it's important that this is hanging just less than halfway. If you try and balance it more than halfway, for some reason it won't stay there. All right? I normally have to explain that in England, but there you go. Okay, and then to keep that in place, the pad just rests on top. And the switch is very, very easy. All I'm going to do is, in the motion of picking up the pad, I'm going to ditch this deck, and it's actually easier when there's a savant. I had to think a little bit, because obviously I didn't want them to drop out, but with an actual true savant, a pocket, they can't really miss. So these cards just get dropped, and the pad gets picked up. But it happens on an offbeat. It happens on a moment of me saying, you need something to do. The audience are thinking about what I've just explained. You need more to do, you need less to do. And all I'm going to do, and it looks just like I picked the pad up. Those cards go in there, and the pad gets picked up. And immediately the pad is given to her, and I've got the 6 of hearts deck here. Then obviously all that needs to happen is Steve deals down. He's going to end up on the 6 of hearts, and Renata is going to draw the 6 of hearts. The force that I used, I'll show you with a regular deck, because if I show you with a 6 of hearts deck, it's a bit pointless. The force that I used, let me turn this back, is it's a Hofzinser Kull force, I think is the correct name for it. And it can be done in various ways, but I have the 6 of hearts in the 4th position. Okay, so there's the 6 of hearts here, 3 indifferent cards on top, and they go on top of the deck. And for the Hofzinser Kull force, it is what it says. You're effectively culling that card out, and then keeping it culled out until a card is touched. So I'll show you very, very basically from the top, and then I'll show you from underneath what it looks like. So I spread, when I get to the 4th card, that's the 6 of hearts, my thumb goes on the 3rd card and holds it in place, and my fingers underneath cull or just pull that 6 of hearts back. And then the rest of the cards are now just going to get spread on top of it. Okay? So from underneath, let me show you that again. It probably looks better. So from underneath, you might want to get a close-up on that. That's probably, I'm going to spread to, when I spread the 3rd card, I keep my thumb on it, and the 6 of hearts gets pulled underneath. And now the rest of the cards are now going underneath the six of hearts. As soon as she points to a card, I can then show it this card, and it gets squared. And as it gets squared up, she's now going to see the six of hearts. Okay? So that's the way I force the six of hearts. You don't have to force that way. You could use any type of force. I like to use a regular deck because obviously he's going to get the cards for the first time round. And to make the effect strong, the audience have to believe that this is a regular deck. And the fact that I show it normal, the fact that he looks through it and sees lots of cards and then picks one for himself, means that by the time I then come to the part of dealing the cards down, you've forgotten. You just accept that it's a regular deck. So there's no way you're thinking that could all be the six of hearts. One important thing about the reveal, I think there's a big danger in magic that sometimes the audience are expected to laugh at being told that a magic trick has happened, all right? And sometimes it works, but an example would be confabulation. You know, the confabulation effect where, somebody will choose a holiday destination and an amount of money and the name of the person they want to go with. And then the magician takes his wallet out and he's got a letter which he asks the person to read. And it says, I predict you will go to Spain with this amount of money and with so-and-so. And then the audience go, wow, that's impressive. But the truth is the audience are just applauding that somebody has told them a trick has happened. They aren't applauding at seeing a trick, they're just applauding at being told that a trick has succeeded. And that's good, it works, but it's not as strong as it could be. It's much stronger when you see confabulation done, as I remember seeing Copperfield do it, where it was on a big blackboard, and the blackboard was revealed, and the whole audience could read the information. Then what happens is you see that the magic's happened. You don't just get told, and that's a big difference. When you read that and go, wow, you're experiencing the magic. You're not experiencing that person reading it and telling you it's happened. And sometimes there's no way around that. I'm not saying those tricks shouldn't be done, but if you can make them experience the magic, it's better, which is why Renata draws the card on here. And that's the reveal. The moment when you realise the magic's happened is when she turns that round, which is why I do it that way round. You don't want to do the reveal where you go, Renata, what card did you choose? And she goes, the six of hearts. And then you go, Steve, what card did you pick? And he goes, the six of hearts. Because how big is the magic then? The magic is that big. Whereas if she reveals this, the magical moment is that big. Okay? So always, do that second. People have said to me, what happens if Steve chooses the six of hearts? All right? That's never happened to me yet, but if it does happen, I do watch. I noticed as he spread through that he went past the six of hearts. I was watching him. So I knew he hadn't chosen the six of hearts. But I watched to check that they haven't got it. If Steve has got the six of hearts, obviously, I don't need to do the rest of the routine. It's worked at that point. But I will still give Renata the pad. So if that happens and Steve chooses the six of hearts, I will then pick up the pad. I won't do the switch. I'll give her the pad and I'll say, okay, Renata, he's picked a card, you draw your card. So I still finish in the same way. So I want to make sure that I know that's happened. Otherwise, he'll go, the six of hearts, and she goes, yes, that was my card. And I go, oh, great. And so that's the reason I do it that way around. Any questions at all on that particular thing?
I think we have a question over there. If we can get a microphone.
Thank you very much. We've got a microphone over there. We've got a question. Yes.
What do you call that?
What do I call that? A very good trick. I call it Deja Two. Yes, I have brilliant names for all of my tricks. Deja Two, because it's like deja vu, you see. And there's two people. Any other questions? No, thank you very much. Good. Okay. Oh. Okay, I thought it'd be good to attempt a world record now. Not many people know this, but I'm actually a world record holder. I hold a world record. Sorry, I've only got one pad, so I have to readjust for each trick. I hold a world record for doing a mathematical feat with a two-digit number. Oh, that was last night's trick. That's tomorrow's trick. There we are. I hold a world record for doing a mathematical feat with a two-digit number in 28 seconds. That's the fastest this has ever been done. But tonight, I'd like to try and break my own world record. Now, I need a few people to help me. First of all, I need a gentleman from the audience who has a watch on. Let me have a look. I notice you've got a watch on, sir.
I do. It's dying. It's a weird one.
It's dying. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
You're planning a funeral for your watch.
It's on power reserve mode. It won't.
It's on power reserve mode. It's a watch. Your watch is on power reserve mode. Since when did watches start telling us what to do for a living? Yeah, I'd love to help you, but I'm on power reserve mode. Work out the time on your own. What is it? One of those Apple Watch things?
Yeah, it's only got analog and only pops up really crappily right now.
Right, okay. You're a big advert, aren't you, for... Oh, you've got a phone. Yeah. Excellent. Look at you showing off with all your devices. Does that work? It does. Excellent. Okay, and your name?
Jacob.
Jacob, excellent. Jacob on power reserve mode. You can be in charge of timing with your iPhone that's linked so beautifully to the watch that isn't working. So what you're going to do, Jacob, in a moment when I say I'm ready, I'd like you to count me down backwards from 3. Backwards from 3. That's why I'm not using you for this, sir. You're going to go... I can tell. You're going to go like this, Jacob. You're going to go 3, 2, 1, go. You don't have to do the fingers. And then when you say go, you start timing me with that beautiful little telephone device. And every 5 seconds, Jacob, I want you to shout out nice and loud. 5, 10, 15, 20. Hopefully, you won't get too far past 25 because I'm going to try and break my own world record of 28 seconds. Do you understand? Excellent. Jacob, relax for a moment. I'll come back to you. Need a lady to help me now. Lady here, what's your name? Jean, excellent. Jean, I'd like you to give me a 2-digit number. But listen, Jean, it must be higher than 33. Because what I'm about to do, Jean, is impossible to do with a number of less than 34. When I say it's impossible, Jean, it's not impossible. It is possible, but it's complicated. If you give me a number of less than 34, I would either have to use minus numbers or repeat numbers. I can't really go into all the details now, but maybe later. Over a quiet glass of wine. She's nodding. So is he. Great. So give me any 2-digit number. What is your name, sir?
Jerry.
Jerry, excellent. Good to have you with us, Jerry. Do you want a book to read or anything like that? You're all right. Okay. So give me any 2-digit number between and including 34 to 99. What would you like? 47. You sure? 34 is good.
47.
You're all right with 47. What's your name?
Jean.
Jean still. Right. 47. Okay. Jean has chosen the number 47, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to write it on this board so we don't forget. 47. I have now got 28 seconds or less to try and break a world record with Jean's chosen number of 47. Jacob, I'm ready. Do me a favour, Jacob, right? Can you put a bit of life into it? A little bit of showbiz, all right? I know it's just a lecture, but this is showbiz to me, all right? A little bit of energy, a little bit of life. It's no good when I go, I'm ready, and you go, 3, 2, 1. All right? A little bit of energy. I know your battery's low on power, but I'd like you to be full, all right? Jacob, I'm ready.
3, 2.
All right, there's no need to take the piss, is there? All right, Jacob, I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
Excellent. Don't forget, Jacob, every 5 seconds I want you to shout out nice and loud.
5.
That was a little bit quicker than I was expecting, to be honest. Stop. Your energy levels have dropped. Your energy levels have dropped. Can you? It started great. It was 3, and then you went to 5. So just okay. Can you remember how far we were up to, second-wise?
Yeah.
5. 7. What was it?
14.
I was on 14 already. Was I?
You might have to raise your energy levels now.
Okay. Oh, that's funny. Can I just explain something to you, Jacob? At the moment, I'm a suave, sophisticated entertainer. But when you meet me outside in the street, I'm a big, fat English guy. All right? Yeah. Jesus loves you. I haven't decided yet. Okay? Okay, Jacob. 3, 2, 1 again. Add 14 seconds and away we go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Excellent. Don't forget every 5 seconds.
20.
Oh, yeah, okay.
25.
Ah! Stop! How long was that?
30.
Was it? 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Can't believe that. But I've always stood at, 28. I thought I might break the world record. Going to do a card trick now. Oh, you want to see what I've done? In 30 seconds. You want to see? Sure. Yeah. Okay. I will show you what I've done, ladies and gentlemen. In 30 seconds, barely enough time to write the numbers on the board. But if you watch carefully, you may be vaguely impressed. Some of you might even put your magazines down. Not you, you're enjoying it. Look at this. Jean there was Jean. She chose the number 47. And you tell me, Jacob. Look at this. 9 plus 6 is 15 plus 28 is... Oh, my word, it's going to be a long night. 43 plus the 4 at the bottom is... 47. Thanks for coming. 29 plus 3 is 32 plus the 10 is 42 plus the 5 is... 47. There's a big clue on the back if you can't work out the math. All right? I've tried to make this easy for you. 2 plus 26, that is a 26. All right, I got complicated. That's when he stopped the clock. 2 plus 26 is 28. It's 28 plus the 8 is 36 plus the 11, 47. 7 and 12 is 19 plus 1 is 20 plus 27 is... 47. Thank you very much. No! No! Don't patronise me. It's better than that. When I show you what I've actually done on this board, don't jump ahead, fella, don't jump ahead. When I show you what I've actually done on this board with a freely chosen number of 47, in 30 seconds, just 1 second away from the world record, you will burst into spontaneous applause without the slight awkward gap as if to say, so what, I hope he's not getting paid too much. Watch carefully as we go horizontal, as is my want late at night, Jean. 9 plus 29 is 38, plus the 2 is 40, plus the 7 is 30, is 47. 6 and 3 is 9, plus 26 is something else, plus the 12, trust me, it's 47. 28 and 10, that's 38, plus the 8 is 46, plus the 1 is 47. 4 and 5 is 9, plus 11 is 20, plus 27 is... 47! No! No! It's even better than that, it can't be, it is. She could have picked any number she liked, Jean, but oh no, she had that 47. Jacob timed me with the clock because his watch didn't work. When I show you I've actually done this board with a freely chosen number of 47 in 30 seconds, you'll probably want to march me shoulder high around the building, chanting, John Archer, John Archer, he's a witch, burn him. That actually happened once in Alabama. Look at this. Look at this, horizontally and inverted. Look at the corner numbers. 27 in this corner, plus a 4 there is 31, plus a 9 there is 40, plus a 7 is 47. There's a bit of a pattern. Hold back. Look, 4 and 10 is 14, plus the 26 is 40, plus the 7, 47. 9 and 3 is 12, plus 8 is 20, plus 27 is 47. Horizontally, vertically, diagonally, and the corner numbers. No! No! It's even better than that. It can't be. It is. She could have picked any number, but no, she had to pick 47. Jacob timed me. 30 seconds. It would take some of you longer than that just to take the top off the pen. Sorry to keep bringing you back into this. But when I show you what I've actually done this board with a freely chosen number of 47, I could be one of the few magicians in the history of entertaining who gets a standing ovation for doing a trick with numbers. Maybe not tonight. All right. Look at this, horizontally, vertically, diagonally in the corner numbers. But look at the 4 numbers in the middle. 10 plus 8 is 18, plus 3 is 21, plus 26 is 47. And 9 plus 3 plus 6 plus 29 is 47. And 2 plus 26 plus 12 plus 7 is 47. And 1 plus 8 plus 11 plus 27 is 47. 28 plus 4 plus 5 plus 10 is 47. In fact, any group of 4 numbers, yes sir, any group of 4 numbers. You can add up those 4 or those 4 or those 4 or those 4. You can add the top 2 to the bottom 2, the left 2 to the right 2, those 2 to those 2 or those 2 to those 2. Over 75 combinations of 47 in 30 seconds. Thank you. Oh. Please sit down. That was such a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. Oh. Okay, so this is my take on Magic Square. There are a few things that I think are important about this routine. I'll talk about the method, and my method is there are lots and lots of great methods for Magic Square routines. There are better methods than mine. There are more involved routines than mine where lots of things happen. I think the important thing for a Magic Square routine is the audience have to think that you're doing the maths in your head there and then. They have to believe that this thing's going on and it's a bit of a mental challenge. That's all it really is. The Magic Square. It's not even a magic trick as such. It's a feat of mental dexterity. That's what it is. But I think in a magic performance, it can be a good way of demonstrating that you've got a quick mind, because people want to believe that you've got some way that you do these tricks, and by revealing a little bit about yourself, it makes some of the other magic more believable. So I have no problem doing a Magic Square in a magic act, because I think it gives them that sense of, wow, this guy really does know what he's doing. I think the important thing for a Magic Square is it should be done quick. The Magic Square done slowly without jokes or fun. They don't have to have jokes. You can do it seriously. I was influenced by Mark Salem. That was the first guy I saw. He did it seriously, but he did it quick. And it blew me away. He was the first person I ever saw do a Magic Square routine, I think. It was probably him that inspired me to start looking at doing it, if I'm honest. And but it's got to be quick. If it gets too evolved and too drawn out, and the maths takes too long to add up, if you can't add up the numbers, you've claimed to have this amazing mind that can do all these numbers, and then when you come to add them up, you're going, what's 3 plus 6? And they go, well, he can't possibly have done it. So you've got to be able to add up, and I've done it so often that I can add up the numbers. I am adding them up in real time. You've got to be able to add them up quickly. And also, for me, I wanted a method that was very, very simple. I didn't want to be worrying about the method, and my method is very, very simple, and basically uses a crib system. A lot of the methods I've seen using Magic Square used a system where you would use a crib, and then you would have one square that was -1 from that, and another one that was -2, and one that was +1, or a -1 and +1 and +2 in these in 4 boxes. And basically, Magic Square works that if you have 4 boxes that are unfilled, you can get a grid that will add up to anything. One of the problems with that is that you have to do various bits of mental calculations for those boxes. And the other problem is that if you have a Magic Square that, with those 4 numbers missing, would add up to 34 if you make them, the lowest possibility, or they could add up to 99. The problem with that is, this will make more sense when I show you some illustrations in a moment. You could end up with 4 really big numbers. Actually, you choosing 47 was one of the worst case scenarios for my method. It doesn't really matter, but you will notice, you probably can't see this now because it's covered in lines, but you will notice these 3 boxes here, 26, 27, 28, and 29. Those are quite large compared with the others. But if she'd have chosen 99, these numbers would have been in their 50s, and that stands out a lot. That's the worst case scenario for me, really. 49 is the worst number I can get for my method. And the method is I have 4 cribs. And the cribs are on my pens. I'm a big believer in having cribs on pens. You'll see that later on possibly as well. I hate it when a magician has a crib that is somewhere else. Okay? I've seen people who have a crib on the table, and you see the magician doing this. Right? It doesn't look right. Also, I've seen magicians, and I mean, each to his own. I don't want to criticize other magicians, but I'm just trying to make, them better. That's all. I've seen, where you can have a crib on the pad at the top, and then you still see people doing this. Yeah, and people notice that. People notice your eye line moving when they're watching, especially when all of the attention is on you. Not so bad if you're asking somebody else and you're talking to them, and then you can glance. That's not so bad. If you get the attention away, or you make sure that the crib is in the eye line of the person that you're talking to, that's okay. But the joy of having the crib on a pen is that you're always looking where you're meant to be looking. You're always looking exactly where your eye line should be. So when I'm doing down this, I'm looking at the crib, and my eyes don't move, so I can see what I'm doing. And I've got some cribs here. I know I had these printed out at home, and I forgot to bring them, so I've had to write them up on the envelopes. But there are 4 cribs. Now, I'll explain what these cribs in a moment mean, but I have 4 cribs. One for the number 34 and above. Then, if the number is higher than 50, I have another crib. If the number is higher than 70, I have another crib, and if it's 92, 99, I have a fourth crib. And the reason I have 4 cribs, you could have 10 cribs if you wanted, one for every 30s and 40s and 50s. I find 4 cribs is enough for my needs. But the way these cribs work are very, very simple. The first thing I have to decide is what crib to use. So, if the number is higher than 34, which it has to be because I ask for that, and I use comedy to sort of get away with I want it to be higher than 34. You can do other ways of getting that if you want to. You can ask somebody to give you a single digit, and if they give you a 5, that's great. And if they give you one that's like a 1 or a 2, you get another one. Okay, give me a higher number, and then you make that your first digit. So there are ways of forcing a number higher than 34 without asking for it directly. I'm quite happy to ask for it directly to be higher than 34, because it is true that I will either have to use minus numbers or repeat numbers if it was less than 34. That's a fact. So I go for the lowest crib to the number that she's given me, available. So she gives me 47, the 50 crib won't work, I use the 34 crib. Okay, if she gives me the number 53, I would use the 50 crib. If she gives me the number 65, I would use the 50 crib. If she gives me 72, obviously I'm then going to go for the 70 crib. If it's 78 or 83, I'm going to use the 70 crib. Once it gets above 90, I will then use the 90 crib. The only 2 bits of maths I have to do is one piece, sorry, you say math, don't you? You don't say maths. You say math. It's weird, you Americans. The only little bit of math I need to do, that was my American accent, don't you know? The only little bit of math I have to do is one subtraction and one addition. So we'll talk about Jean's case. She gave me the number 47. So the first thing I need to do is take 34 from 47, right? Which is 13. That's fine, 13. Then, the next bit, I have to do an addition. And this number that I've got in red on my crib, I add it to that number. So this number becomes 26. That's all I need to remember. Take 34 from the number she gave me, and add the result to this number in this square here. Okay, so that becomes 26. These empty blocks, I'm going to go anti-clockwise around, and add one each time. So just count around. So it's going to be 26, 27, 28, and 29. That's all I need to remember. It's very, very easy. I guarantee that, most of you, maybe not you, sir, but most of you, I'm kidding, most of you could get up here and do this. If you had the cribs, you could do it. Let's imagine she gives me the number 57. I'm going to take the crib for 50. 50 from 57 is 7. I add 7 to the 17, which gives me 24. Okay? That becomes the number here, 24, 25, 26, and 27. And this will now add up to her number of 54. Sorry, 57. Yeah? So does everybody understand that? It's very important. If you don't understand, please get me to clarify it. That's all you need to remember. The way when I'm filling in the pad, I actually fill in all of these numbers first. I remember I write this number in, the number that is the key number, and then I write in all the other numbers. And I don't worry about the blanks. I leave them blank. And then when everything else is filled in, I then go whatever it needs to be, 28, 29, 30, or whatever. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody?
Can you explain how you get the blanks again?
How do I get the...
What goes in the blanks?
Yeah, whatever number this is, these are just going to be one more, so I just count round. So if this number has become, say the number chosen was 53, I'd add 3 to the 17. 50 from 53 is 3. I'd add 3 to 17, which becomes 20. So this then just becomes 21, 22, 23. Okay, whatever number that is, they just count around one extra. Literally, it's very easy. So I don't even have to think about that. So long as you can count, you can do that bit. And all you need to do, like I say, is one subtraction, one addition. That's it. Thank you very much. Good. No more questions? We're all happy? Yes, got a question at the back.
How long did it take you to figure out all the cribs?
To be honest, there are lots. Those cribs already existed. So I first learned how to do a magic square from a little booklet by a guy called Sam Dillal. Okay, and Sam Dillal had a little booklet. I can't remember the title of it now, but it was it taught you how to do a magic square without any cribs, from scratch, for any number. And I can do that. And it used a system of blocks of 4 and a pattern that you fill them in. So, and a starting number. And it's quite complicated. So I can do a normal magic square without cribs from scratch. So I could just build my magic squares that I wanted for those cribs. But to be honest, there are websites and multiple places where you can find magic squares already made up. But you don't need to do that now, because you can just pause the DVD and see the cribs that you've got there. So that works out. Yes, did you have a question?
Do you have all 4 cribs on the one marker?
No, I have 4 markers. Okay. So yeah, I have 4 markers. I mean, if you had good eyesight, my eyesight's going. I do use glasses for reading, but so you can see them on there, and that actually is quite big writing on there. This is the crib for 90, as you can see. I've got 90 in the little circle, and then I've got the numbers. You'll notice the key number I printed in red. I did these on my computer. I cut them out, and then I wrapped them. I taped them on with invisible tape, not Scotch tape. You can buy invisible tape, from stores, and I use that because it doesn't glare too much. So I have 4 of these. Normally when I work, when I'm where have I put that one? When I'm working in my performance, because I have the savant on the back of the table, these are just clipped on the savant, and I just pick the correct pen. Because I didn't have that, I didn't want to have them loose on the table. I just had them in my pocket here, and it's just easy: 34, 50, 70, 90 in line. So I just take the correct pen out, and of course that gets switched, and I use a different coloured pen for doing all of the lines. Does that make sense? Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. Okay, next routine. I performed in a show here last night, and I think you're going to be able to see it. It's a trick called the Laura Buxton Coincidence. That will make sense when you watch the presentation. So just watch the screens. Watch the screens at home. Here it is. Oh, do you know what? I'm fascinated with coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. I love coincidences. I would go too far to say that coincidences are a passion of mine. Pardon? Yours as well? Wow, fancy that. That was a coincidence joke. You weren't ready for it, were you? No, but I'm fascinated with coincidences. And I think the reason that I like coincidences is because I'm a magician. And sort of one of the jobs magicians have to do is to try and make coincidences happen. That's sort of one of the things we sometimes do. And I have a favourite coincidence. And this is true, I promise. I'm not making any of this up. I'm going to tell you this story now. And you can Google it when you get home, obviously. Not now. That would be annoying. You can do it now, Owen. You're already annoying. But it really did happen, and I came across it. I read it in a Ripley's Believe It or Not book, and then I checked it out on the internet, and it's all true. In 2001, there was a young girl in the UK called Laura Buxton. And Laura Buxton lived in Staffordshire, and she was 10 years old. And this particular day, she went to her grandparents' golden wedding anniversary. And she got there, and she was a little bit bored. You know the feeling, I can tell from your face. So she's looking around, trying to find something to do, and she sees some red helium balloons decorating the hall. So she got one of these helium balloons and she tied a little bit of ribbon to it. Then she made a note of a name and address on a piece of paper, and she went outside and she let it go, and it fell on the floor, so she tied it to the balloon. She hadn't really thought it through. And she let it go again, and the balloon drifted off, and she forgot all about it. Now, 10 days later, 150 miles away, in Wiltshire, in the UK, there is a farmer in his field. And his field has a little hedge that separates the field from the cottage next door. And as he's in his field, he looks in the hedge and he notices something. And it is, of course, a deflated red balloon with some ribbon and a note attached. So he took it out the hedge and he read what it said. If found, please return to Laura Buxton. He didn't read anything else. He didn't need to. He went straight to the cottage. He knocked on the door. He had a microphone on the door. It was a fashion at the time. That and lava lamps. Except she'd never had a lava lamp. Anyway, the lady heard the knocking because she'd got a microphone on her door. She would. So she answered the door. And when she answered the door, the farmer said, I found Laura's balloon. You see, the girl who lived in the cottage was also called Laura Buxton. She was also 10 years old. You're taking the mick of me now, aren't you? No. So anyway, the parents of Laura Buxton, number 2, I don't know what the surname was, the parents of Laura Buxton, it could have been Buxton, the parents of Laura Buxton, number 2, they get in touch with the parents of Laura Buxton, number 1, and they arrange for the 2 girls to meet. And the 2 girls meet a few days later with the parents. And when the girls meet, they are both wearing blue jeans and pink jumpers. Another strange coincidence. Both of them had no fashion sense. But then they got talking, and they realised there were other things that were exactly the same about them. They were both the same height. They both had brown hair that was cut into a short bob haircut. They both had a 3-year-old black Labrador dog. They both had a pet grey rabbit. They both kept guinea pigs, and their guinea pigs had similar markings on their hind quarters. Possibly the most remarkable coincidence on record, and I promise you, it's all true. And when I read that story, I thought, that's fantastic. I want to tell that story to my audience. I want to keep that story alive. One day, my dream is that I will be doing this trick, and Laura Buxton will be sat in the audience. If I'm really lucky, both of them in the same seat. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to do a little trick in honour of Laura Buxton. It's a little coincidence effect. And I need a gentleman from the audience to come out and help me. I need a gentleman from the audience who needs a little bit of luck in his life. And to be honest, I've never had so much choice. But yes, gentleman there looking quite keen with a blue shirt on. Would you like to come out and join me? Give him a big round of applause. Yeah, come on out. Excellent. Good, good, good. Hi, how are you?
Good.
What's your name?
Chris.
Chris, excellent. Where are you from, Chris?
Here.
Here. Lovely place you've got. I like what you've done with it. Few too many lights, but what the heck. And and what do you do, Chris, while you're living here?
I do magic too.
You do magic? Wow, I could chat to you for minutes. I really could. Another magic man. Great. Okay, well, that's good. You're a magician. You can check and make sure that I don't cheat. But if you check too much, I will thump. Okay. Just come forward a little bit, Chris. So you do magic. What do you do professionally? Do you do magic professionally?
I'm in college right now.
You're in college right now. Okay, that pays slightly better than being a magician, to be honest. And regular hours as well. It must be lovely. So what are you studying?
Evolution and ecology.
Evolution and ecology. Wow. I really could chat to you for minutes. What about hobbies? What do you do for fun? Do you work out? I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh. You obviously don't. No, you've got a thread hanging from your sleeve. Oh, no, it's your arm. Sorry. He's laughing on the outside, but on the inside he hates me. Now, so what's your name again?
Chris.
Chris, good memory. I wasn't sure you'd be able to do that twice in a row, Chris. Not you being a magician and everything. Okay. So what we're going to do, Chris, we're going to play a little game. We're going to play a game with 2 decks of cards. I've got a blue deck of cards. We've got a red deck of cards. What I would like you to do for me, Chris, if you would please, is just name one of these decks for me.
The blue deck.
Wasn't difficult, was it?
No.
You really are a magician. I didn't believe you. Okay. Chris, would you do me a favour? Would you take the cards out of the box? Excellent. I'll take the box off you because it must be getting quite heavy, mustn't it, Chris? And we're gonna play a little game, Chris. All right, but you've got to check everything on the audience's behalf. There's people on the back row there; they can't really see what's going on. So you are the eyes and ears of the audience for this particular trick, and wonderful eyes and wonderful ears they are too. Not quite in the right place, but close enough. You could get a job on Star Trek. No, listen. What you've got to do. You've got to check everything and make sure everything's above board. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to go through my cards, and I just want you to confirm that this is a red deck of cards that you've chosen for me. Make sure that all the cards are red. I'm going to go all the way through at the end. Make sure there's no cards stuck together. There's none hidden underneath. They are red cards all the way through. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Would you check out your cards and make sure yours are all blue? Go all the way through. Make sure that you've got every single card is a blue card. There's no red cards hiding away anywhere in there. Ooh, and a little at the end. Wow. Ooh, a little bit of cardistry. Wonderful. Okay, next thing we're going to do, Chris, is we're going to check the faces of the cards. We're going to do mine first. Make sure that you don't see any cards that are the same. They can be the same value, but not the same value or the same suit. Make sure there's nothing about any of the cards that are suspicious. If you see anything about any one of the cards, remember, you're not doing this for me, Chris. You're doing it for the audience. If you see anything about any one of the cards that you think, I don't like that, there's something... You don't like the ace of spades. You don't like the picture on the ace of spades. That's fine. No, he's thorough. And just didn't like the ace of spades. Happy?
Okay, yeah.
Excellent. Would you check your cards now? Make sure your cards are all different. That's it. Very thorough. That's it. Don't rush. Whoa. Go back. I don't like that one. That's annoying, isn't it, Chris?
Any other ones you want to take?
No, you carry on. You obviously have a lot of spare time at college, don't you?
Yeah.
Happy?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, we're going to shuffle the cards. Chris, you're a magician. You can shuffle the cards any way you like. I'm just going to shuffle my cards like this. But you can do any shuffle you like. Just shuffle the cards. And as we are shuffling, Chris, anytime you like, you say stop. And whenever you say stop, we both stop shuffling. That is the rule. You are in charge. Are you sure?
Yeah,
I was just about to start another one, but you're happy?
No, we're stopping now.
We're stopping. Okay, listen, here's what we're going to do. We are going to swap top cards, all right? I'm going to take my top card and give it to you. You're going to give me your top card. Now, Chris, what are the chances of these two cards being the same? The blue card that you've just given me and the red card I've given you, what are the chances of them being the same?
1 in 52.
It would be 1 in 52 if you hadn't have been clever and made us throw one away.
All right.
Yes. See, your thoroughness slightly cocked up your awkwardness, didn't it? It's actually 1 in 51.
Yeah.
But you gave me the blue one, I gave you the red one. Show everybody the red one I gave you. What was it? The Queen of Spades. And you gave me this blue one here, which is also the Queen of Spades, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the thing is, Chris, right, intelligent people in the audience, and Owen, they try and work out how this is done. You see, and they try and guess, and they say, well, maybe you've got a deck of cards that have got special marks on them, and when you shuffle them, I watch what you do, and I make sure I bring the same card to the top. That is possible. I am that good, but that's not how it's done. So we're going to do the same thing, Chris, but this time without looking. You're going to face that way, I'm going to face that way, Chris. We are going to go back to back and shuffle the cards again. And the same thing, Chris, as we shuffle in, anytime you like, you say stop. Whenever you say stop, we both stop shuffling. You sure? Yeah. Okay. Turn round. Chris, do you want to shuffle your cards anymore?
No.
Do you want me to shuffle my cards anymore?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to swap top cards. I'm going to give you mine. You give me yours. Chances of these two cards being the same is
1 in 50 now.
1 in 50. He's done the math. He's right. It is 1 in 50. And yet you gave me this blue card here. I gave you that red card there. You gave me the 9 of hearts from the blue deck. I gave you the red card, which is also the 9 of hearts. Not bad, eh? Of course, you're a magician. You know how I'm doing this. Listen, some people think that maybe I've got lots of Queen of Spades and lots of 9 of Hearts in here. Maybe you didn't check thoroughly. So look, I'll quickly go through. Everybody can watch. There are no other Queen of Spades or no other 9 of Hearts. You can check your deck if you want to, Chris. I promise. There were only 2 possible Queen of Spades that could have matched and only 2 possible 9 of Hearts that could have matched. Is that correct? Maybe. There's one other thing that hasn't happened, Chris. You haven't had a chance to shuffle my deck of cards, but more importantly, I haven't had a chance to shuffle your cards. So listen, I'm going to take your cards off you, and against my better judgment, I'm going to let you have my cards. So now, you've shuffled both decks of cards. There's no way I could be in control of anything. And we'll go back to back so I can't see. I will shuffle my cards, you shuffle your cards, and again, anytime you like, Chris, you say stop. Whenever you say stop, we both stop shuffling. Oh, you like the red ones more than the blue? That's interesting. It really is. Are you sure? I was halfway through. Do you want me to finish this one or not?
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, do you want to shuffle your cards anymore?
No.
Do you want me to shuffle mine anymore?
Yes. All right, cool. That's good.
You happy?
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing. We're going to swap top cards. I'm going to give you my top card. You're going to give me your top card. Chances of them being the same is
1 in 49.
It is 1 in 49. Well done. You're getting, if nothing else, you're getting the math right. And yet you gave me this red one, I'll give you the blue one. Show everybody the blue one I gave you. The 3 of diamonds, and you gave me the 3 of diamonds. I know, yeah. Now, the thing is, Chris, I could go on doing this trick all night, and sometimes, if I don't like the audience, I do. And you nearly swung it, Owen, to be honest, but... This trick isn't really about me, Chris, and despite your efforts, it's not really about you either. This trick is about Laura Buxton, and there's one more little bit of that story I didn't tell you. I'm going to tell you the story as you go back to your seat. So as you go back to your seat, Chris, everyone's going to give you a huge round of applause. Chris, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. You see, everything I told you about that story of Laura Buxton was true, I promise. It's a fascinating story. Google it, check it out when you get home. And when I read the story, I thought I'm going to get in touch with Laura Buxton. So I called Laura Buxton up. This is all lies from now on. And I said I was fascinated with that story. Was there anything that surprised you about the story? She said everything surprised me, obviously, but there was one thing that really surprised me. What really surprised me is nothing came of the picture in the envelope. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, my grandparents were big bridge players. And at the party, they had big playing cards stuck on the wall for all the bridge playing guests that were there. And I took one of the pictures and I folded it into quarters and I placed it in the envelope. I'm surprised that nothing came of that little piece of information. Do you know, tonight, Chris, I think we're going to put the final little piece in the jigsaw. You see, I think the playing card on this piece of paper is one of the 3 cards that we've just randomly selected, coincidentally together, 3 times in a row. I didn't speak to you or arrange anything. This is the first time you knew any of this. So, Chris, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to name one of those cards, either the Queen of Spades, the 9 of Hearts, or the 3 of Diamonds. If you think that it's a psychological thing, pause and change your mind if you want to. But when you're ready, just name either the Queen of Spades, the 9 of Hearts, or the 3 of Diamonds. Are you sure? There it is, the 3 of Diamonds. Woo! I know. Woo! Thank you. Thank you very much. And Chris is in the audience. He's in the audience tonight. Stand up, Chris. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you. You were great, Chris. Thank you very much. This trick is inspired from a trick by Patrick Page. I love Patrick Page. I only got to know him towards the end of his life, unfortunately. And he was a great bloke, and I loved being with him when I was with him. But he had a trick that he used to perform, which is in his book, and it's called, I think it's called the Soldier's Card Trick. And the reason he calls it the Soldier's Card Trick is because it was shown to him by a soldier, and he didn't know the name of the soldier, and he'd searched to try and find out the origins of this particular trick, and he couldn't find it. And it's not the trick I did exactly tonight, but my trick is based on it. The trick he did was just to have, just use 1 deck of cards, and he would have mates of cards on the top in pairs. So the idea is he would give half the cards to the spectator, they would shuffle, he would shuffle, and he would retain these sets of pairs on the top of his deck. Then when he swapped cards, he would give them one of his pairs, they would give him a random card, he would do a double lift and show that the cards matched. And that was the effect, and he used to do it. And then he'd palm a few off, he'd swap, he'd add them to his deck. And I really liked the effect, but I thought what it didn't have is it didn't really have a finish. He sort of did that for a while, and then he'd stop and he went on to something else. And I'd always loved the effect. I watched him do it, and I always thought it was a real baffler, a real fooler when you watched it. And he could do it relatively impromptu. It didn't take him long to set up the cards. And I'd always loved the effect, but never really thought about doing it because it didn't feel like it had an end, and it didn't really feel like it was a routine that somehow worked for me. Until I was at Ripley's Believe It or Not in London. I was on the top floor, and there was a presentation telling that story of Laura Buxton. And it is a true story, and the ladies now, they're in their mid-20s, they've kept in touch with each other. Now and again they appear on the internet and they appear on TV shows. They appeared on a TV show in the UK last year talking about this coincidence, and it fascinated me. And I sort of realised that little coincidence story would be great to tell with that trick. But I wanted to make the trick a little bit more baffling, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to do it with 2 decks of cards and have different coloured decks? And also, because I'm a stage performer, and I like all of my concentration, if possible, to be going on the audience and my presentation. I want as little concentration as I can on performing the trick. So I want to make it effectively either foolproof or so easy that once I've done it, 20 times, I don't have to think about it. And so I came up with this method, and I'll talk you through it. Basically, use pairs of cards. I've got 2 decks of cards. The blue deck of cards is a regular deck of cards. It's just got my 3 force cards missing from it. So I've taken out the Queen of Spades, the 9 of Hearts, and the 2 of Diamonds. So apart from that, it's just a regular deck. The red deck has some gaffs attached to the top. So the red deck has 2 Queen of Spades that are held together with wax. I'll show you how that works in a minute. Then it's got 2 9 of Hearts, red-backed ones, that are held together with some wax. Then it's got 2 indifferent cards. And then I have 2 blue 3 of diamonds that are the blue back 3 of diamonds, and they're held together with wax. And I'll just separate them and show you. So here we see the Queen of Spades. Now, I tried lots of ways of holding these cards together in a way that they would come apart and another card would stick to them when I added another card to them. I tried roughing fluids. I tried all types of roughing fluids. I tried, repositional glues. I tried everything. And then I was at a Juan Tamariz lecture, and he did a 3-card Monte routine. And he, for the gimmick, he used jumbo cards, a 3-card Monte routine. And in the lecture he said, I use this wax that you buy from chemists, pharmacists, that are wax earplugs. You know, they're like a ball of wax, and soft wax. Here's one, and it's sort of, you can mould it. It's not like magician's wax. It sort of has a similar feel to sort of really soft candle wax, I suppose. And what he does is he was using that to hold cards together, and that's all the way these are held together. I actually just draw a cross and then a diagonal cross on the back of one of the Queen of Spades. The other Queen of Spades has no wax on it, and it goes on top, and I press them together, and they stay together as a pair now. So that's 2 Queen of Spades held together with wax in the back. The nice thing is that when I separate these and give one of the cards away, when I add a card to it, that card, there's no wax left on here, that card will stick to the back of the Queen again. And that's basically the method. So, Chris, you were so good the first time. Do you want to come up and help me again? Sure. And we'll just talk them through the method. Because I know you saw through it on the night, you knew how everything was done. So I've got this deck of cards here that I don't need anymore, and they're confusing me, so I'm just going to put them over here. So Chris has the blue deck. I actually forced the blue deck. There's a joke that normally works with lay people. It didn't work with Chris last night. But something I've found happens a lot is obviously he needs to have the blue deck and I need to have the red deck. And something I discovered through performing this is I could get something to happen with lay people that happens 90% of the time. I say I've got 2 decks of cards here, a blue deck and a red deck. What I want you to do is just to name one of these for me. Now, for non-magicians, quite often they will then give one of these a name. All right, they'll either call it Mary or Bob or Jim. You were tempted to do that last night. I could tell from your eyes. Don't deny it. So, and the thing is, I say I've got 2 decks of cards, and I don't say name one of these decks. I don't say, name either red or blue. I say I've got 2 decks of cards here. I've got a blue deck, I've got a red deck. And then I put a little bit of time in between it. I say, what I'd like you to do is just to name one of these for me. And quite often they will say Bob or Mary, and it's great because I sort of pause, because it is sort of what I've said. And I go, that's great. I was hoping you say red or blue, but never mind. Listen, you take Mary, and I'll hang on to Bob. Or, that didn't happen. What he said was blue, which is perfect. I give him a blue. People say, well, what happened if he said red? What I actually do is I say, what I'd like you to do is just to name one of these decks for me. And he says red. I say, great. Now, an easier one, name one for you. And he says blue. Okay, so it's sort of one of those questions that's a little bit ambiguous. So I say, name one of these decks for me. And if he says red, I say, great. And now name one for you. And there are other ways of doing it, but anyway, you just make sure, you don't have to, you could just say you take one deck, I'll take the other, because you do swap decks in the routine. But I like to give it a choice. Okay, so obviously I do false shuffles. He shuffles anyway, I just do a false shuffle with an in-jog, and because I'm performing on stage, I don't take any risks. My in-jog is almost half the card. All right, I make a big in-jog, because I have lost my jog when I've been chatting away. So I don't take any risks, especially on stage. Doing this close-up, you might not want to, but on stage, nobody can really see what's going on. So I do an in-jog, I control all of the cards, and I bring them back to the top. Oh, one thing. Let me go back, I forgot. When I have the cards examined, obviously, I don't want that blue card to be seen. But I do want everybody to be happy that these are all red and those are all blue, because that, some people might think that I've got an extra blue-backed card in here or whatever that I then give to him somehow. All I do is I do a block push-off as I go to spread them. So I say, what I'd like you to do for me, and I push off so that blue comes past. So what I'd like you to do is just to check that all these cards are red. Okay, so I don't let that blue one be seen. And then, of course, he checks his. Okay, back to where we were. So we now do the false shuffles. I maintain mine. I do a timing thing. I say, shuffle your cards anytime you like, say stop. And I actually, I do my in-jog, and I start doing this, and I shuffle off, and I sometimes try and make it look like I don't know what I'm doing with cards, like I did then. But then I get to the point where I've taken my break, and I'm now shuffling off that random top stock before I get back to my to the top of the cards, and I'm just listening. And as soon as I hear him say, "Sss," they all get dropped. Okay, so it's just a timing thing. And it's, as soon as I hear him say, "Stop," they get dropped, and I go, "You sure?" Okay. Okay. So I'm just timing my false shuffle so that I end up with the cards back on top. Now all I've got to do is separate these, and I just from the corner I just lift up and separate, and I give him one. He gives me a blue card. Doesn't matter which one it is. I make sure I hold them low, and I do mine first so he sees that I'm not showing it to the audience. Now this gets added on here. Now it's going to stick to that card, but I make sure it sticks. I actually grab with my thumb here at the back, and I say, what are the chances of that card being the same? Now I'm squeezing here. Same, and now I'm squeezing at the top here. So I've squeezed it in several places. I'm holding the deck. Now I can push that off, and it's double, but I can handle it very naturally. He shows that he's got the Queen of Spades, and so have I. Okay? We do that a second time. Oh, by the way, these go in a little stand. People often ask me about this stand. My dad made this for me about 30 years ago. It's just a piece of wood with a little groove in it. And the sort of back half is slightly higher than the other. And it's great for just standing cards up. It's what I've used for years. I'm surprised Penguin haven't made them up and started selling them, to be honest. The John Archer card stand, I think you could call that. So anyway, the second thing's happened, same thing, false shuffle. We're going to do the same thing. I separate now. I'm going to give him the 9 of spades. He gives me a random card. It goes on top of my waxed 9 of spades. I say, what are the odds now? Obviously, we do the joke, blah, 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 and we spread them again. We've both got the 9 of hearts. The next thing I need to do now is I do a deck swap, but I've got to make sure that I keep that blue card that I've got here. So the way that's done is I'm going to spread through, and I say, people think I might have more than one 9 of spades, or Queen of Spades, or 9 of Hearts. He checks his as well. When I get to the 3 of Diamonds, which is my blue back card, I gesture. I say, but there aren't any. And as I come back, they go on the bottom. So now the 3 of Diamonds, the blue back 3 of Diamonds pair that are waxed together are on the bottom of the deck. I turn them over. I say, but one thing hasn't happened. You haven't had a chance to shuffle my deck, and I haven't had a chance to shuffle your deck. At this point, I get a break above that one single double blue back card, okay, here. And the way I do that, actually, I mean, you could just thumb count, but because it's a double, what I actually do is I sort of just push it across and then square it up. And I do that sort of here so nobody sees what I'm doing. So I now have a break like this on that card. I'm going to now ask him to take his card, give me his cards. I don't actually ask, I just gesture. He places his cards in my hand, and again this happens on the half beat. I say, I haven't shuffled your cards, these cards come together. I say, but more importantly, and that blue card gets added on, more importantly, you haven't shuffled my cards. So it happens in a relaxation moment. They come back, they just briefly touch, as I add the single onto there, and he goes, so now I've got my pair of blues here. Same thing happens, they get shuffled, swapped over, and I have 2, 3 of diamonds, which I can now place down here. Okay? Chris, I think you can go and take your seat now. One thing I want to talk about before I go to the final reveal, you will notice there was a moment when he pointed at the ace of spades and said, I don't like that one. Do you remember that early on in the routine? And I threw it away, and then I do it with his. And that happened last year. I toured. There's a comedian in the UK who's quite well known. He tours, and I get to be the opening act for him. And it's great because he's quite well known, so he sells out theatres that I could never sell out, but I get to work in front of really big audiences in theatres. And it does mean that I get a chance to try out routines. This routine is only a year or so old. It's not very old. And at the very early on in the routine, I was spreading through the cards, and the guy had got up on stage to help me, said, hang on a minute, go back a bit. And so I went back. He went, oh, no, it's all right. He thought he'd seen a card twice. He went, no, it's all right. Carry on. So I thought that was funny. So when he was checking his cards, I went, hang on a minute. Go back a bit. Oh, no, it's all right. And then I did that line. It's annoying, that, isn't it? Right? And it got a massive laugh. And I thought, I wish I could make that happen every night. So for the next 60 or 70 dates of this tour, I was trying to make it happen. And there was other magicians, I told them about it. I said, I've got this thing where I want them to stop me. As they're checking the cards. But of course, audience members are usually polite. They don't want to be awkward. And people said, well, really make it important that he checks. And so I'd say, really important, you're doing it for them. And still it wouldn't happen. And then there'd be times where I would, I tried skipping a few cards past them quickly so that they think I was cheating and go, hang on, go back. But that wouldn't work. They'd just be polite. I tried lots and lots of things. And then right towards the end of the tour, I was spreading through the cards, and the guy saw the ace of spades, and this guy obviously didn't play cards and hadn't seen much, but you know how the ace of spades has the big picture on the front? Where is it? Where is the ace of spades? Have we thrown it away? You know the ace of spades has the big picture on the front, yeah? The guy saw this and obviously didn't know cards very well and went, what's wrong with that one? He thought it was strange that it had a big, colourful pip on it. I said, oh, that's the ace of spades. He went, all right. I said, you don't like it? And I threw it away. When he went to his ace of spades, I found it. I thought, that's the key. I've just got to make something for him to deliberately stop. So now, on my ace of spades, I've drawn a little smiley face. Okay? So if you can see that, on my ace of spades, here and here, down here, there's a little smiley face that he sees, it's in his orientation as it's spreading, and a little sort of scribbly asterisk just there. So now when I'm spreading through them, I say, I want you to check that all the cards are different. Make sure there's nothing unusual, nothing that the audience might think was strange. So of course Chris can't help it. He sees a smiley face. He goes, what's that? Because I've told him he's got to be thorough. I go, oh, you don't like the picture on the ace of spades. Right? You don't know. None of you knew that there was a picture on there, did you? And I throw it away. So now I can do that. And for me, those are the important moments. I spent 60-odd performances trying to find those moments. But those moments, when you can make those moments look like it's an accident, but actually they happen every show, is brilliant. And so that's it. Thank you. Okay. So, and I mean, you could use it for any routine. You could use that where I have a deck examined, and just for the beauty of that line, it's annoying, that, isn't it? Because it almost lets the audience realise, yeah, I bet as a magician you hate it when that sort of stuff happens. Okay, now the final reveal, unfortunately, I don't think I can really sort of explain it fully because it's not mine. It's Mark Oberon's. Has Mark Oberon lectured here?
Not while I have been hosting.
Okay.
So
Mark Oberon
so.
has a thing called Way Out, which is a fantastic. It's not really an effect. It's a utility device for having a multiple revelation from one piece of paper, and that's what I use for this. And it would be wrong of me to explain it when it's not my trick to explain. But go and buy Way Out, look it up. You don't have to finish with this method. I used to finish just having a double-faced card in here. Okay? I'd have a double-faced card in the envelope that I could pull out to be either the Queen of Spades or the Nine of Hearts. And on the front where the address was, right at the bottom it said, and please choose the Three of Diamonds. So then it was... we got 3 cards, just name one, and then I either said, just read what it says on the envelope, or I would take the card out and show them. The beauty of this Mark Oberon's thing is, without explaining it, you can, if he said the 3 of Diamonds, which he did, I can show you the 3 of Diamonds. If he says the 9 of Hearts, that's great, I can open you up and show you the 9 of Hearts. If he says the Queen of Spades, I can open this up and show you that I had the Queen of Spades. All right? I think you all want to go out and buy Mark Oberon's Way Out now, don't you? It's fantastic. You can have 4 outs from a piece of paper. He's even got ones where you can have more than 4 outs, and he's got some fantastic routines with it. He's a really creative guy. But you just need any 3 out for the final moment to give it that definite little finish. Any questions at all on that one?
Yeah, we have some questions up front here. If we get a
we've got a
microphone
question
up front.
here. Young fella, what's your name?
Mason.
Mason, lovely. Hi, Mason. What's your question?
Has anybody ever thought that those 3 cards look suspicious in the deck?
No, because, I mean, to be honest, there's nothing to say suspicious, really. What, you mean the fact that they're doubles?
Well, I just mean, like, has anybody ever just tried to, like, point out any card and then seen those cards in particular just by accident?
Well, there's nothing unusual to see about them, really, other than they're doubles. But somebody looking down at will not spot the doubles, so there's nothing for them to see. I mean, he examined it. He's a magician. Lots of times I've had magicians when I've been doing this at shows, and I've got somebody up. And lots of times I've had a magician up, and I love it when a magician's up because they won't spot anything. It's not like I'm using a whole rough and smooth deck where they go, hang on a minute, you just spread 13 cards and it looked like there's nothing to see. And also, when I do the initial spread, I do that block push off, so I don't actually. He doesn't see the backs of any of those cards, and then when I'm spreading them face up. Those cards are right at the end, so when I get to the end, it's the last few cards. And again, you can't see the doubles from looking straight down on them. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah, another one? Oh, Chris, you've got a question.
Yeah.
If it's about me picking on you, I'm sorry.
No. For the blue ungimmick deck, do you take out the Queen of Spades, the Nine of Hearts, and the Three of
Yes, I
Diamonds?
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I take them out. And also, I take a couple of random cards out of the red deck as well, just so the red deck isn't too thick, because obviously it's got 3 doubles in there already, and so it feels quite a lot thicker than the other deck. So I take, obviously, you need 2 blue decks and 2 red decks to make this up, because you need two Queen of Spades and 2 Nine of Hearts, and you need two black, 3 of Diamonds as well. So, but I take out a few, three random cards from the red deck as well, so they're about the same. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, one over here.
Yeah, John, could you elaborate once again on the type of wax that you use?
Yeah, do you know what? All I can say is they are wax earplugs. So if you go to a pharmacist, Juan Tamariz gets this in Europe. In England we have a pharmacist called Boots the Chemist, and they sell them. And I think they're called wax ear mufflers or something, and they're just like a little cylinder when they first come, and if you go swimming, you can sort of mould them to go in your ears. Or if you're sleeping, you don't want to hear anything. They're just wax mouldable earplugs for going in your ears. I'm sure if you did a little search on the internet, somebody will find out what's similar over here or wherever you are.
Max, M-A-C-K.
M-A-C-K, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
And where sells them?
You just get them at like Walgreens or the drugstore.
Okay, so they're called Max, M-A-C-K, and the wax earplugs, and I'm sure they're exactly the same as these. Any other questions? Thank you, yes. Good. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping because I'm getting messy here. Get rid of some of these things, and we can move on. Wonderful. I'll go and put that over there. I think I should do another card trick. It's sort of the rules of the Magic Circle in London, of which I am very proud to be a member, that every magician must do at least one card trick in his act, otherwise magic will suddenly get popular again. So, so I'm going to do a little card trick, but it is a card trick with a difference. Sometimes people gasp when I say that. Thank you. No, it's a card trick that uses a deck of cards and some elastic bands. We're not going to use the elastic bands just yet, but we are going to use the cards. And I need somebody from the audience to examine the cards. This young fella here, what's your name? Phil, excellent. Phil, listen, I'm going to ask you to examine the cards. I will walk to you in a moment, all right? You don't have to come up on stage. We've seen the way you're dressed. You're going to check the cards, make sure they're all different, and then give them a little shuffle for you. Give Phil a big round of applause. Thank you, Phil. Okay, Phil, check the cards. Phil, check the cards, make sure it's your regular pack of cards, make sure that all the cards are different, make sure there's no duplicate cards, no secret special cards, no cards with smiley faces drawn on them. In other words, it's just a regular deck of cards. And then when you're happy they're all different, Phil, if you just give them a little shuffle for me, if you would, please. Shuffle them, mix, but whatever you do, don't change the order of the cards. It's a little joke, Phil. It's a little joke. Let yourself go. Enjoy yourself. Wonderful. Are you happy? Wonderful. Would you do me a favour, Phil? Would you stand up? Would you turn around and face the audience? Give Phil a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Phil. You can have a seat. We're going to play a little game with these cards now. I'm going to wrap an elastic band around the cards side to side. I'm going to wrap another elastic band around the cards end to end. Thus, that's a Latin word that means thus. And I'm going to throw the cards into the audience, possibly over there. Almost certainly over there, I think. Not sure I like the audience on this side. Did you all come on the same coach? Is there a home somewhere missing a lot of patients? Whoever Whoever catches these cards, I want that person to stand up. You're going to stand up. You're going to prize open the deck of cards. You're going to look at one of the cards. Remember what that card is. Then you're going to throw the cards onto somebody else. They'll catch the cards. They'll prize them up and they'll look at another cards. The cards will get thrown around the room with people catching them and looking at them until eventually 52 cards have been looked at. And I will name each and every one of them. Thank you. Thank you. It's not an amazing trick, but it is a time filler. Now, a couple of things I need to point out about this particular trick before we go any further. The first thing is the numbers are written in these corners here. Everybody have a look. That's the way cards are designed. You will notice there are no numbers written in these corners. That's just the way it is. So, if you prize the deck open on this side, you won't be able to see what the card is. You'll be applauding for the wrong trick. The other thing that's important is when you have a look at a card, leave the elastic bands on. It does make it much easier when you throw them to the next person. And when you do throw them to the next person, if you could throw underarm, not overarm, because we have got a few older people here, we could quite easily lose teeth and wigs and things. Well, not you, sir. You've lost them, haven't you? But everybody else. Okay. Oh, you're laughing when I pick on him. Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? You and your double standards. All right, so if somebody over there can get ready to catch. Oh, good catch, sir. Stand up if you would. Prize open the deck of cards. Have a look at one card and one card only. Have you got a card?
Yes, sir.
Are you happy with it? I want you to throw it towards somebody at the back, either on this side or on this side. If you go on this side, go over the cameras carefully. Underarm. Oh, wonderful. It was almost like a throw. Can you stay stood up? I need you for a police statement shortly. Has somebody got the cards there? Wonderful. Stand up, please, sir. Prize open the deck of cards. Have a look at one. Have you got one? Are you happy with it? You sure? Would you throw the cards to somebody over there? Excellent. A little bit aggressive. Can you stay stood up as well? That's it. Would you stand up? Prize open the deck of cards. Have a look at one. Have you got one? Would you throw the cards back to me? Good shot. Well done. Okay. Okay, your name is?
Butch.
Butch! How inappropriate. And? Sorry?
Carl.
Carl. Butch and Carl.
Drew.
Did I ask you? A little bit forward, aren't we, Drew? Excellent. Okay. You check the cards, Phil, they were all different. You give them a good shuffle. You had a totally free choice of any card, any card, any card. This trick has never, ever worked. I keep doing it because one day it will. I'll be a big star. Here we go. Concentrate on your card. Look at me. Very good, Butch. Thank you. Carl, concentrate on your card. Look at me. That's very good. You. Concentrate on your card. Nothing at all. Okay, here we go. That's got nothing to do with the trick, but I'll tell you what, it frightens all the Christians in the room. It really does. No, because I've always noticed, right, if there's anything a little bit weird on the television, they put some strange music on, it makes you think it's real. Right, there'll be a program on the television about, like, the Loch Ness Monster. Everybody thinks, what a load of rubbish, I don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster, until they put this music on. You think, oh, it must be real. Or there'll be a program on the television about Uri Geller, the man that bends spoons with his mind on the back of his leg when no one's looking. Allegedly. You think, what a load of rubbish, don't believe in Uri Geller, until they put this music on. The mind of Uri Geller. And you think, oh, it must be real. There'll be a program on the television about unidentified flying objects, spaceships in the sky. You think, what a load of rubbish, don't believe in spaceships, until they put this music on. I made that one up. All right, here we go. Concentrate on your card, concentrate on your card. Do your best. I'm getting nothing. I'll tell you what I want you to do. I need you to project your image for me. Can you do me a favour? Can you all turn round? And can you face the back wall? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine that your eyes are a cinema projector projecting a bright image onto the back wall. Find a little space on the back wall. Butch, you might want to go between those two Thurston posters, just between there. Imagine a big cinema screen or a TV screen. Carl, do your best, and your big gap there for you, Drew. Just that's it. That's good. You're slightly out of focus, Butch. Focus in. Focus in. It's out of focus. That's great. Okay, concentrate on your cards. Do nothing. Just break those images. Yes. Okay, I can see that one. That's very good. Okay. Let's pitch your card over here. Try and make all the colours separate, but brighter. But that's good. Got the 8 of clubs over here. Got the 5 of spades over here. No, 5 of diamonds. It's a diamond, yes. You're not very good at doing colour. And the Jack of spades over here. Yes, beautiful. You can relax. If I've named your card, would you turn around and sit down, please? Oh! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now there are loads of tossed out deck routines at the moment, and much better ones than this. This is a tossed out deck routine I've been doing for over 20 years. I first saw a magician called Toby Travis perform this over in the UK. He was doing a convention, a festival, and he just did a very simple tossed out deck routine. He didn't do any particularly the gags I did or anything like that, but he just did a very standard tossed out deck routine. But it was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I loved it. He performed it very, very well. And I put it into my act, but I changed a few things. I thought the important thing for a tossed out deck routine is the audience have to believe it's a real regular deck of cards. That's very, very important. If they're not happy, then they will start guessing at the method. So I realised I needed a switch. So there's basically a deck switch in it. And then the other thing that I've added to it is that little thing at the end where you can actually say who's particularly picked each card. And I don't always do that in my performance. Sometimes if I want it to be quicker, I'll just name them and get them to sit down. But the way it's done is, like many tossed out deck routines, I have a forced deck of cards, which is basically just a bank of 3 cards. The 8 of spades, the Jack of clubs, and the 8 of clubs, Jack of spades, and 5 of diamonds in my deck. Here we go, Jack of spades, 8 of clubs, 5 of diamonds. Just repeated, those same 3 cards repeated. And people do tossed out decks with 4 cards and 1 card, and I think the original Hoy version just had 1 card, I'm not sure. And then I have a different card on the front. And that's the deck that I'm going to switch in. And again, I use my Savant for the it's not really a switch, I use the Savant. I've got loads of decks here. I use the Savant. Anybody want a 6 of hearts? I use the Savant for not the switch, it's just literally a ditch. So I'll set it up and show you how it works. I have a regular deck of cards which is in the box. I've actually cut the side tabs off the box, just to make it easier for me getting the cards in and out of the box. I normally do that with all decks when I'm working on stage, really. Just, I get rid of the side tabs because they just get in the way, to be honest. And then I've got my forced deck of cards with the 3 cards, the bank of 3 cards running all the way through, and they go on top of the deck. When I say on top, I mean flap side, face down like this. Okay, so there's the flap, and they're face down, and then with one elastic band, I hold them all together like this, and they go on my table here. Normally behind something, to be honest. Normally I'll have a stack of things here, and my ukulele that I use in the act, and various bits and bobs. And they're there, and usually on top of all my elastic bands. So when I say I'm going to do a card trick, I say if it's a card trick with a difference, sometimes people gasp, and then I pick up the cards. And what I'm going to do is my hand goes on top of the gaff deck and gets picked up and held like this, and my thumb opens up the flap. So what's happening now is the fingers along this side are covering the side of the deck, the thumb on this side is covering the other side, and the flap is hiding those. So effectively it just looks like I've got a deck of cards. I say I'm going to use a deck of cards and elastic band, but I don't need the elastic bands just yet, and I drop it down here. There's a reason for that. The reason I take the band off and drop it down there is when the switch happens, which is not the switch, it's a switch and a ditch. It's sort of, it happens in 2 phases. But the ditch happens over here, and it happens as I'm picking up an elastic band. And I don't want the audience to wonder what I'm doing. See, if an audience sees you do something and there's no motivation for you to do it, they will be suspicious. So if I'm chatting and I'm doing a trick and my hand goes in my pocket and then comes out again, everybody wonders why my hand went in my pocket. I was always taught, Ali Bongo said that if you ever need to put your hand in a pocket to steal something, always put 2 hands in your pockets. If you put 2 hands in your pockets, it doesn't look like you're going for something. 2 hands in your pockets looks like you're relaxing. You put 1 hand in your pocket, it looks like you're stealing something. But the audience are always suspicious. You know, if you're chatting to them and you go, okay, and I'd like to show you something in a minute, everybody goes, what was that all about? All right? So you've got to make sense. So when I suddenly go over here with my hand and start doing something, if the audience don't realise those are there, they might wonder what's going on. But of course, they suddenly think back and go, oh yeah, he's getting an elastic band, that's all right. Okay, so I let them know the elastic bands are over here as I take it off. So I don't need the elastic band just yet, but I do need the cards. I need somebody to check the cards. And I take the cards out of the box, and I get somebody to check them on the audience's behalf. Damn it, there's loads in there. And these are given to Phil. Now, Phil takes the cards, and he's going to check the cards and shuffle them. As he does, I sort of lift this box up, and I get a little break between the box and the deck. Okay, so literally all's happening is just I'm talking to him, they just get lifted up. So I've now got a break between the box and the deck. Phil shuffles the deck. I'm now going to take the cards off him, and the switch is going to happen as I turn and go back to my table, and then the ditch will happen at the table. But the misdirection is that I get Phil to stand up and turn around and face the audience. Now, normally, the guy that I get to check these cards is the guy that, in my act, I've already started to pick on. I have one guy that becomes my foil, a little bit like you've been. Okay, but normally it's a person on my front left as I'm looking at the audience. Because I like the fact that my table is on this side and the person I chat to and pick on is this side. It means that I'm always keeping myself open to the audience. If I picked on somebody on this side and had my table here, that's sort of the thing that's going to be going on throughout my act. A lot of the time it's going to be I'm performing, I'm talking to you, I'm going here. But by picking on somebody on this side, it actually makes me much more open to the audience. Okay, that's why I always pick on somebody, if I can, on this side of the audience. So what happens is I take the deck of cards off him, and I ask Phil to stand up. You needn't do this now, Phil. And I ask Phil to stand up and turn around, and I say to everybody, give Phil a huge round of applause. Now, this misdirection at this point is immense, to be honest. I wouldn't have to do a clever switch for several reasons. First of all, it's almost impossible to give somebody a round of applause without looking at them. We're conditioned that if we applaud somebody, we look at them, right? If I was applauding you, I wouldn't say, hey, well done, right? I look at you, right? It's part of the applause is we look at them. So when you ask the audience to give somebody a round of applause, you can't help but look at him. The other reason you can't help but look at him is I've already picked on him earlier in the act. I've made fun about how he might be dressed. I've made fun about how he's looking at me. There might have been several lines. So you want to look at him to see if he's happy with me, right? You want to reassure yourselves that he's all right. You want to have a look and see this guy that I've been picking on. So the misdirections are immense. So as I said, stand up, Phil, turn around and face the audience. Give Phil a huge round of applause, okay? Now these cards are held out in this hand. Give him a huge round of applause. What's going to happen, the way the switch is going to happen, I'm just going to pick up that box and swap it to this hand and then raise up this deck. All right? But the reason it works is this deck is here. Give him a round of applause. The reason it works is because I turn, so the cards appear on this side of my body, and then as I turn, they're on this side. So in space, the cards don't appear to jump from one hand to the other because the turn actually makes them stay in the same plane. Okay? So it looks like this. Give him a big round of applause. Can you see that? The cards don't, the cards, if you were watching them and you were watching them here, you're watching them, you're still watching them, the cards effectively do that line. They don't jump across my body. So give them a big round of applause. The box gets switched, these get held up, and now I'm going to ditch what people think is just getting rid of the box as I pick up the elastic bands. Like I say, I have a savant, so they just get dropped in, and an elastic band gets picked up, and the switch is done. Okay? So then, I can then go to the second phase. Obviously, I do all the gags. The gags about, the numbers are written on these corners, make sure you leave the elastic bands on. Those are all bits of information that I need to get across to the audience, but I'm a big believer, we might talk about it a bit later, I'm a big believer that if you have any process or any things you need to do, if you can make that funny and interesting, it's better than just saying, okay, here's what I want you to do, and suddenly the audience lose interest. So the elastic band's around, and I explain they're going to look at the cards. The cards get thrown out. The cards are looked at. I have various gags that I use depending on the situation and what happens. The cards get back to me. I throw them away, and then I'm going to reveal the cards. And obviously, just getting them turn the backs and look at the back wall and project the image means that I can, all I have to do is name those three cards. The 8 of clubs, the jack of spades, and the 5 of diamonds. And I could just name them. But by getting them look, you weren't aware of it, but I can sort of say, oh yes, we've got the 8 of clubs here. Yes, we've got the 5 of diamonds here, and picture cards in 5 of spades. So to the audience, it looks like I've got each individual card. Okay? You could use another method, but I think those little tips might help to make whatever method you use helpful. Any questions at all on that? Anything question that I did? Yes, one over here. Can you get him a mic? Wonderful. It's all right. We've got one here.
Does anybody ever notice that there's only 3 cards?
No, because, I mean, they open them up. Obviously, when it's examined, it's a regular deck. But once the switch is done, the elastic bands are on. I keep the audience under pressure. So once these deck of cards go out, I say, stand up. Okay, I want you to prize open the deck of cards. Have a look at one of the cards. Remember it. Have you got one? I've never had anybody flick through and sort of look at them. They just know. I mean, most people just want to get rid of this deck of cards as quickly as they can. It's embarrassing. They're stood up in front of people. They don't want to. I've never ever, in 20 years of doing this, I've never ever had anybody who's looked at more than one card. They might flick one past and see a different one, but I've never, and if they had, they've certainly never said anything to me, which is fine. If they don't say anything, I don't care. So no, I don't. I think just keep them under pressure. I mean, I even do the thing, I say, have you got a card? Are you happy with it? Are you sure? They're not going to change their mind. It's just like, why wouldn't I be happy? I've picked one. You know, it seems as fair as possible to them. So, no. I think a lot of stuff is if it's like, you know, when you have an animal and they say if you're nervous, the animal gets nervous. You know, if you I think it's the same with an audience. If you look nervy about things and aren't sure, they'll be a bit nervy about things. But if you look really confident and it doesn't matter, just look at a card. Have you got one? Are you happy? Are you sure? You know, they're going to be yeah, fine, everything's good. It's just handling them in the right way. But I've never ever had a problem. I mean, to be honest. So when the elastic band's around in these 2 directions, it's not easy to pull them apart anywhere. So there's quite a bit of pressure on there. So people aren't really going to sort of stop. They just want to look at a card and get on with it, really. Any other questions? No, thank you. Good. Good. Okay.
Oh, we do have a question.
Yeah, we've got one.
The microphone's right next to you.
It's right next to you.
It's right next to you.
He's here.
And there's the guy. And there's the, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, on some of the different toss-out deck routines, you know, they'll just have people, they'll name the card out loud, and just random people will sit down. Didn't you do it where you named each person's individual card? Did I miss something?
I name the card, but I don't say sit down. Wyn Dobson does a thing where he names all 3 cards, which is really nice, and then he says to one guy, if I named your card, would you sit down? If I named your card, would you sit down? If I named your card, would you sit down? And that's great. I like that. For me, I just like the one moment. I mean, with that, you do get 3 rounds of applause, getting each individual one. But I just like the clean, neat finish of it all. And but I name the 3 cards, but don't get them to sit down until I've said, if I named your card, would you sit down? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And what you may have missed, what he may have missed, is the subtlety, of having those 3 gentlemen facing the back. So it seems like he's naming their individual cards, but they can't see him
exactly.
Pointing to them. We think that he's saying your card is specifically something.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, question at the back. Young lady at the back. You were in the show.
I was in the show.
Your name?
Emma.
Emma. I know you like to be famous, Emma. You were crashing a cymbal last night. What's your question, Emma?
So the tell doesn't happen because everyone sits at the same time. Have you ever had somebody, like, I know Butch, he started nodding his head at the very end because his card was Jack of Spades.
Right, okay.
Does anybody ever notice that?
You're the first ever to notice that. Would you please leave? No, people don't. And also, do you know what? I mean, it's a lecture here and you sort of know what's going on. But most of the time, people see people nodding. They're not really sure what they're nodding at. So I don't know if I did it much there, but normally I do a thing where I go, I have a gag where I go, okay, just concentrate on your cards. Give me no reaction. Give me no reaction. Say nothing. Do nothing. That's brilliant. And I point to the guy I've been picking on, and do a thing about that's brilliant. Or sometimes I'll point to a guy on the front row and go, "You've been doing it all night, sir." So I'll sometimes do that, but I sometimes tell them not to react too much. And I think I did in that performance. I did say, "Don't give me any clues." But yeah, you could manage that more if you wanted to. If you're worried about it, manage it more. If you're not, manage it less. For me, it's not a worry, so I handle it as little as I need to, really. Good. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so mentioned earlier on when I was introduced about the Penn and Teller trick. I did that last night in the show, so we're going to look at that now. We'll look at the performance, then I'm going to tell you how I did it. It's good to be here anyway. Now, as you heard, I was on that show, Penn and Teller Fool. It was actually, they made a series, a season of it in the UK before they started making it over in America. And before they actually did their first season, they did a special. And that was what I was actually on, the special, that they made, just to try the whole series out. And I did, in fact, fool them. I was the first man to fool them. Thank you. Thank you. It sounds impressive, but there's hundreds of them now, to be honest. But at the time, it was quite special. And people often ask me, can you show us the trick that fooled Penn and Teller? And I will. It's not really a trick. It's a game. It's a silly game. It's a silly game using 5 envelopes. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the envelopes before we start. 4 of the envelopes are worthless. They contain nothing apart from one of these. That is a John Archer commemorative $0 bill. I make them myself. However, one of the envelopes contains $80. I know. It was $100 on the night, but that was television. Now, the idea of the game is very, very simple. I've got to make sure that nobody wins my $80. And the way that I do that is by what I tell you about the envelopes and by what I have written on the envelopes. So we're going to start with this gentleman right at the end there. You there, sir, with the glasses. No good looking behind. It's definitely you. What's your name? Pardon? Kevin. Excellent. That's a beautiful name, Kevin, isn't it? It's not interesting, but beautiful. Kevin. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the envelopes. They've all got something written on them, especially that one. That's got something written on it. Now, this is the only envelope that has something written on it, even though all of the other envelopes do have something written on them. But it isn't something. It is something else, which is, in fact, something. It just isn't something. It's something else. Question you've got to ask yourself, Kevin, if you're vaguely interested, and to be honest, you don't look like you are, is would I put the money in the envelope that says it's got something in it when we know that every envelope has something in them, even the ones that don't have something on them? Don't decide just yet, Kevin. There's another 4 exciting envelopes to see. If you don't go for that one, you might go for envelope number 2. Envelope number 2 says nothing, which, as I promised, is something, but it isn't something. It is something else, which is nothing. Can you see why I didn't use you for this, Owen? Question is, would I put the money in the envelope that says it's got nothing in when we know for a fact that all the envelopes have something in, even the ones that don't have something on? Maybe not. Maybe it's a double bluff. If you don't go for that one, Kevin, you might go for envelope number 3. Envelope number 3 says yours. Now, everybody likes what is rightfully theirs, but this isn't theirs. It's yours. Because when you read it, you think it's mine, and when I read it, you think it's yours. And it definitely is yours, because it says it's yours on the front. And if it's yours, Kevin, why would I put the money in it? Unless you're thinking it's mine. But it's not mine, because that one is mine. And you will notice, Kevin, that mine is much bigger than yours. Get over it. I'm a big fella. It's genetics. Now, question is, would I put the money in the envelope that says it's mine when you know that you think it's yours, and we know it's not yours, the other one is yours, this is definitely mine. Actually, if you go on YouTube and watch the clip of me doing this in front of Penn and Teller on British television, over 2 million hits. I know. Took me a while, but I got there. That's the envelope, Kevin, that had the money in. Would I put the envelope with mine, would I put the money in that envelope again? Knowing that you might have watched the clip on YouTube. Would I do it again? Of course not, unless it's a double bluff. Maybe I've deliberately put it in there because I think you've watched the clip and you wouldn't guess for that envelope. If you don't go for any of those, Kevin, you might go for the final envelope, and the final envelope says sex. Now, sex can be a beautiful word, it can be a sleazy word, it can just be an anatomical description, but it's certainly a powerful word. Some people might argue that it's one of the most powerful words in the English language. It scares some people. I know my wife doesn't like it. Maybe I've deliberately put sex on one of the envelopes, Kevin, because I think you're not the type of guy who would ask for sex in an open public forum. Not twice in the same day anyway, Kevin. I saw you down the town earlier on. So listen, here's what you're going to do. Kevin, would you stand up for me? I'm going to count to 3, Kevin. Did I say come any closer? You're frightening me, Kevin. All right. Is that a look here in Columbus? That sort of not really knowing whether, not sure whether you're going to the gym or going to bed. You can't work your mind up, can you? Kevin, I'm going to count to 3, and you're going to name one of the envelopes. Something, nothing, yours, mine, or sex. Whichever envelope you name, that is the envelope you get. Do you understand? Excellent. 1, 2, 3. Yours. You want yours? Excellent. Kevin, come forward. Take yours. Open it up, Kevin. Inside, you should find a John Archer commemorative $0 bill. Is that correct? It's difficult, isn't it? Excellent. Nothing else in the envelope? Nothing else in the envelope. Just an empty envelope. Have a look. Make sure there's no secret trapdoors, no little flaps. Just an empty envelope. Is that correct, Kevin? It is. Excellent. I'll take the envelope off you. You can keep the $0 bill. They actually double in value every month. That's wonderful. And We'll get rid of that. Leaves us with 4 envelopes. You can sit down, Kevin. Let me see. Lady here with the glasses on the top of your head in case you thought you'd lost them. What's your name, madam? Deborah, wonderful. Deborah, I've got some good news. Sex is still available. Yeah, the bad news is it's going to be me that's giving you it. All right, so... Debbie, would you do me a favour? Would you stand up? Excellent. Is that as high as you go? Debbie, we have got 4 envelopes left. Something, nothing, mine, and sex. I'm going to count to 3. You're going to name one of the envelopes. Whichever envelope you name, that's the envelope you get. 1, 2, 3. Something. You want something? Yeah. You sure? Come forward, Debbie. Take something. Open it up. Inside you should find a John Arch commemorative $0 bill. Check the envelope. Make sure there's nothing else in there. It's just an empty envelope, yes? Excellent. I'll take the envelope back. You can keep the $0 bill. Give her a big round of applause. Excellent. Your name? Owner. All right. I used to own a car. Excellent. Owner. Stand up, owner. Owner, 3 envelopes left. Hey, pardon? You've got to wait till I count to 3. Okay? You've got to wait till I count to 3. I'm going to count to 3. You're going to choose one of the envelopes. I already know which one you're going to choose. 1, 2, 3. You want mine? What a surprise. Okay? Take mine. Open it up. Inside you should find a John Arch commemorative $0 bill. Is that correct? Wah, wah, wah. Nothing else in the envelope. I'll take the envelope back. Everyone will give you a huge round of applause. Owner, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, owner. Wonderful. Owen, it's down to you. Stand up. Owen, you've got a choice now between nothing and sex. I'm sure that's a choice you've had to make many, many times. Okay, listen. Would you be surprised, Owen, if I could tell you what you were going to choose before you even asked for it? Yeah. Be perfectly honest. Make your decision now. And be honest with me. You were going to ask for nothing, weren't you? Of course not. You weren't? You want sex? Of course. You sure? Sure. Okay. Owen, I'm going to give you sex, but you are going to have to come a little bit closer. I'm good, but I'm not that good. No, come here. Take sex. Owen, open it up. Inside you should find a John Arch commemorative $0 bill. Is that correct? Nothing else in the envelope? Just an empty envelope with a $0 bill in it. Excellent. I'll take the envelope back off you. You can take a seat. Give Owen a big round of applause. Which leaves me, ladies and gentlemen, with nothing. You see, you could have all had something tonight if you'd just been brave enough to ask for nothing. But oh no, you wanted what was mine or what was yours or just plain old sex, you pervert. But the one envelope that clearly says it's got everything is the one envelope that says nothing. The one envelope containing my $80. Thank you very much. You don't believe me, do you? Okay, watch carefully. No suspicious moves, because I did them about 4 minutes ago. Watch carefully. Inside the envelope there is indeed 20, 40, 60, $80. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm not going to explain that one. No, I will.
You got lucky.
I got lucky, that's right. Do you know what? It's great. It's funny, actually. You say I got lucky. When that went on YouTube and, after the Penn Teller show, and people started putting comments, it was amazing how many people were saying, well, he just took a chance. It was a 1 in 5 chance that he'd fool them and he'd get on. And people were saying, it's psychology and body language, and people would always choose mine. And it was the methods that they came up with, and, if they watch this lecture, they're going to be very disappointed when they realise I just cheated. But before I actually show you how it did, I'd like to explain why this came about, because I think the reason why it came about is almost as important as the fact that it did come about. And what happened was I told you earlier about touring with this comedian friend of mine, and he tours about every couple of years. He tours, and I tour with him, and he's been doing it for about 12 years, and I've always been his opening act. So the audience have got to see me a lot. So every time I open for him, I only do 30 minutes, but I've got to do a different thing. So I was working out for a tour, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and thinking about what I wanted to do. And I'd read this book called, I'd seen this trick called Persuasive Banknight. And I think it's by Sean Taylor in his book Brainstorms. And it was a trick where it was a banknight routine. The method was a standard method, just actually having the money in a thumb tip. But it used words on the envelopes and a picture, and one envelope was a different colour, I think. It had a picture of a flower on one and a dollar sign and some words. And I really like the idea of just that idea of not having numbers on the envelopes, having something other than numbers on. And I thought it would be great to do it with purely just words and play on the idea of playing with words. A little bit like the trick, this, that, and the other, the close-up trick, and various other tricks that have been done playing on words. And I hadn't fully worked out the routine, but I was thinking about the wording and what the words would be. And I was just going to use the method of a folded-up note in a thumb tip. And I was driving to a gig, and I've got a good friend in the UK called Pete Furman. And we often, chat to each other about what we're working on, now and again. And I was talking to him, and he said, "What are you doing on the next tour?" And I said, I'm thinking of doing a banknight routine, but just using words and playing around with the words. He said, "Oh, great." He said, "What method are you using?" I said, "I'm just going to take the money out of a thumb tip, at the end." And he just said, "Are you happy with that?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I am. That's fine." And then he hung up. But of course, as soon as he said, "Are you happy with that?" it made me ask the question. It's that nagging thing. It's like what your wife does to you. They do that, don't they? They ask really probing questions and then just go and sit in the room and let you sort of stew on it. And, I remember once walking into, this is different, walking into the living room at my house. We were going out, and we had friends who we were going out with, and I'd been upstairs, and I'd put a shirt on, and I came, and I walked into the living room, and my wife said, "Are you going out in that shirt?" And I went, "Obviously not," and just turned round. Right? They've got a good thing of asking certain questions, haven't they? But the very fact that he said, "Are you happy with that?" made me think. And I thought, actually, I'm not happy with that. The truth is, I don't think it looks great when you have an envelope this big and you take a folded up note from inside. The truth is, we're fooling ourselves as magicians if we think that looks good. Okay? And we do that a lot. A method works. It might not look great, but it works, so we do it. Right? I've never been a fan, if I'm honest, of tearing a corner off a bill to remember it, to mark it. I've never understood why that makes sense. Nobody in the world, outside of magic, ever says, "Look, so we'll recognize this again, let's tear the corner off." Doesn't make sense, does it? But we do it because it fits the method that we're using. I think if you're going to have a note that's then recognized later, I think a signature is much better. It's much more natural. Sign it, make it your own. I think tearing a corner off does make sense sometimes. Don't get me wrong. There are times when it does make sense if you're doing a torn and restore, or if you whatever. But methods that we use don't always make sense. And as soon as you said this, I thought it doesn't make sense. So then what happened was, to create the trick, I just thought about what the ideal scenario would be for me. And I think that's a great way of approaching creating magic, is to say, how would I want this to look if I did it for real? And so I thought, for real, if I did this, I'd want it to, I'd want the note to come out unfolded. Because normally when you put money in envelopes, I used to get gifts from my grandmother, a birthday card. She doesn't send them now because she's dead. But when she was alive, she used to send me birthday cards, and she'd put money in. Yeah, you remember that? You get gifts, but it wouldn't be folded into a little small package. The money would just be in there loose. So I thought, I want to take the money out, and at the very most, folded in half I would allow. That was my rule. And then I thought, I don't want to have any body loads. I don't want to have to use a tray to put the envelopes on. I just want to have the envelopes. And at the end, the last envelope, I take the money out, unfolded. And I also thought it'd be nice to be able to take more than one note out, because having several notes out makes it look like you've had to manipulate so much more than one note. Okay, so that was my criteria. And the method came about purely from just going to Staples and buying some envelopes. And I was very lucky that the envelopes I bought had a specific design about them that meant that I came up with this method. If if I'd bought a different style of envelope, I may never have come up with this design, just because of the way the envelopes were designed. I'll show you in a moment. In fact, they're quite hard to get the right envelopes for this. They are manufactured now, fortunately. You can buy these envelopes from your favourite magical supplier. The way it works is the envelopes that I use, the reason they work is they have quite an acute angle on this bit that's folded up. I don't know whether, if I hold that so it's not shining in the light so much. So it's a little bit reflective, isn't it? Yeah, let me get out the way again. It likes it when I get out the way. Right. I don't think you can see this side seam, can you? But there's a side seam just up here, which is at quite an acute angle. Some envelopes have the seam coming across here, you know, like in a triangular shape. These come up here. And that's good because this masks the gimmick that I use. So when I bought these envelopes, I noticed that seam and I started cutting them along that seam. And I made a little pocket, and that's the method. The method is quite simply this. That is the method. It's not... Penn Teller, when they said, we think you have an extra envelope. And sort of, I do, I suppose. But it's not really an envelope, it's a pocket. And they said they think I slid the money out of the extra envelope and put it into the correct one. That was their guess. And I could quite confidently say, if you watch the clip, I don't slide any money out in or out of any envelopes. I don't. I just use this. And the money stays in there throughout the whole routine, and it comes out of there at the end. But the nice thing about it is that when this is held up against an envelope, because these side seams sort of match up, it means I can go in and appear to take it out. That is improved by the fact that I use some repositional glue on one side. The glue that I use is, there are two types I've found in the UK. You can certainly get this one in the US. This is Zig repositional two-way glue. Okay, I know you can get this in America because Michael Weber lent me some once that he'd bought over here, so you can definitely get that. And then another one that I use is, this is really easy to get in the UK, and this is Bostik Sticky Pen. Okay, Bostik Sticky Pen. It's a little bit worn out, I've used this quite a bit. The nice thing about these glues is they go on, but then they stay sticky, so it ends up being a little bit like a post-it note. That is tacky. Even though the glue's dried, it stays tacky. You can use it like normal glue, put it on, and while it's wet, glue something together. Or you can put it on and let it dry. And it takes about maybe 3 or 4 minutes to dry. And it's just along that one edge. Now, people have got in touch with me and said, I'm using post-it glue. You know, like the little post-it sticks of glue that you can get. And it's not working. It won't. I've tried every type of glue. You want this type of glue. You can't use like... a spirit gum or anything like that. It needs to be this repositional glue, and not the post-it note type glue. That doesn't work in the little sticks. I've tried that. The nice thing about this is it sort of stays tacky, but it's not going to stick until you want it to. Okay, and I'll show you the handling. So this little pocket is made from one of the envelopes. If you can get the right envelopes, and basically what you need is envelopes that have a square flap and these acute angles here. And what you do is you actually cut your gimmick out of one of the envelopes like this. And it's slightly smaller, slightly narrower width than the whole envelope. So you come in maybe, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch in from each side and cut in. And you want it so that it's on one side, the opening is taller than the other, okay? So when that's against the envelope and your finger goes in to grab the notes, it can access them. Obviously, if it's the same on either side, it's hard to get your finger in and grab them. So that's the gimmick. And again, I've rounded off the corners. The actual envelopes, if you're making this up yourself, the actual envelopes, the opening, if I put my finger in here, I've cut this back about just under 1/2 inch. So I've made the opening bigger than it was. Okay, I actually pull them apart at the seams. I cut it down about 1/2 inch, and then I re-glue them. Okay, that means that when the gimmick is on there, this part of the envelope isn't going to get in the way of my hands when I go in to get the money. Okay, so you've got to do each envelope like that. So actually, when you look at it, it doesn't quite make sense because this flap only just covers the opening by, you know, maybe 1/4 of an inch. But nobody ever notices that, apart from Penn Teller. If you watch the clip, Teller did notice. He did say at one point, I noticed. Actually, I don't think he did. I think it was edited out, actually. But he did notice they were slightly cut deeper. And the reason for that is I left these in with the audience on television. I normally don't. I normally take them back. But because it was television, I was trying to keep the routine quick. I left them in the audience. And Teller did notice that, but he just Thankfully, it fooled him even more because he thought they were cut back so I could slide money in and out a little bit easier, which was not the case. It was so that I could just access the money from my gimmick a little bit easier. Okay, so that's what you need to do to the envelopes and the gimmick. The way they are set up is you have them in the order you're going to use. Each one has whatever you're going to have in. I used to use book tokens. Now I just make up these $0 bill things. And the gimmick actually goes under the flap of the topmost envelope. So I've got the envelopes with the words on the bottom and the flap side up, and the gimmick has been slid underneath that flap. And that's where it stays. So when I start, I'm in this position with the gimmick underneath the flap of the first envelope. I can bring it up and show it, and I'm actually just holding the gimmick in place behind the envelope like this. Okay? So I can show them that, and it's relatively easy. To be honest, you can gesture reasonably fairly from the back, and people don't see that they don't see that line too much because so long as you keep it moving. So I can show this one, I can go on and show the next envelope. All the envelopes can get shown, and then I can give a free choice. Now, if they choose any envelope other than the something envelope, it's fine, I can just give them it. If they choose the envelope with the gimmick in this case something, I actually need to slide it out. And the way that's done is I actually just put my thumb on the gimmick, and as the envelope is given to them, my thumb just keeps hold of the gimmick. So this goes and gets given to them. So now the gimmick's here. So something gets given away, which in this case is something. And I'm now in this position. So all I need to do is, as I'm spreading the envelopes, I pull here and the gimmick goes underneath the flap of the next envelope, which is nothing. So now as I spread them, I've now got the gimmick controlled underneath the next envelope. And I just keep it underneath the topmost envelope as I look at them, the rearmost envelope from your point of view. When I get to two envelopes, I sometimes do this. I just handle them and gesture down. Again, one gets chosen, taken away. When I get to three, I sometimes change the order and put the second one on top, so it's hiding the gimmick completely, and I can do a really clean, because this envelope is on top of the gimmick. And then I'll just reposition them back to my normal order, until eventually I'm left with two envelopes, nothing and yours in this case. Now, the gimmick is behind this envelope. When I first started performing this, I used to do it like this. I said, I've got yours and nothing. I want you to make a choice. And a magician, quite a well-known magician in the UK called Geoffrey Durham, said to me, when you're having a choice made between those two envelopes, they need to be held apart. And it's sort of true. You can't say to people, you can't say, I want you to choose one of these. It looks a bit wrong. It looks much better to have them chosen like that. Of course, the problem with that is, if he asks for nothing, it's now got the gimmick behind it. So the way I get around that is a little ruse that I didn't really need to use it last night in the performance, but I actually say, would you be surprised if I could tell you what you were going to think before you said it? And he says, yes. I say, make your mind up. And then I say, you were going to ask for nothing, weren't you? And I name the one that's got the gimmick behind it. Now, he's either going to agree with me. Now, if he agrees and says, yes, I was going to, if he says, yes, I was going to think of nothing, I can now have a moment of relaxation. I can say, you were going to think of nothing, weren't you? He goes, yes. I say, you see how easy this is? Even though I give you a free choice, I still know you were going to choose nothing. And at that point, they come together. So I'm going to give you the chance to do something that nobody else was allowed to do. If you want to, you can change your mind. Okay? Now, if he says, okay, I'll change my mind, you go, great, and I give him yours, and there's nothing to do. If he says, no, I don't want to, I just do the move. But now it's been a perfectly natural moment. And this is probably the hardest moment, if you do have to do the move, is when you're just doing the move with just two envelopes, because you've got less room to hide them. So the way I do it when I've got two is I square them up. I've done the little moment of, if you want to, you can change your mind. He says, no, I don't want to change my mind. And I square them up, and I just literally slide this envelope away. Okay, and that keeps this one here, and he gets it. So now, at the end of the routine, I'm either left in this position with the gimmick on top of the flap, or I'm left in this position with it under the flap. It doesn't matter which it is, whichever situation it is, I'm actually going to line this up with the bottom of the envelope. And the way I do that is I use my fingers as guides. I put my third finger of each hand here on the bottom of the envelope and let it land. Can you see that? So it lands on those fingers, and then with the thumb, I centralize it. So this thumb, I centralize it, so it's the same distance from each end, and then I grip it here. Okay? So now what happens is this glues together with a little squeeze as I'm chatting, and then I'm going to lift the flap up. Now, in this situation, the flap is underneath the gimmick. That doesn't matter. My thumb goes in and opens the flap. If it's on top in this position, again, it just opens the flap. And now what I can do is the first and second finger grip here, sort of hiding the end of the gimmick on this side. That hand opens the flap, and this hand goes in to move the money. So this hand is masking this, which is sort of you can look at anywhere, but this hand masks it. So there's nothing to see. That finger is hiding here, this hand is masking here, and I can take the money out very, very fairly. Okay? And I normally take it out one at a time. But that looks exactly as it should look if you were taking the money out of an envelope. There we are, $80. Yeah. Thank you. So, any questions at all on that? If you've got a question, can you get a microphone over
we'll
here?
Get the microphone up.
Yes.
How and when did you discover that you telling the spectator, oh, you've got the $0 bill before they discovered themselves was more powerful of a routine?
Right from the start, I just wanted the effect to be that it looked like I knew what was going to happen before. The way I present it is, I don't want them to think they've got any chance of winning, because I think if you play the game where it's like, if you play this game, you could win my money, right? So from the start, I let them know that's not going to happen. I say it's my job to make sure that you don't get my money. And the way I make sure that you don't get my money is by what I tell you about the envelopes and what I have written on the envelopes. So basically, it's not a game. It's not a game of chance where you could win the money. It's I'm going to play this game and you won't win the money. So it's a subtle difference, but I'm letting them know right from the start. So when they get the envelope and I say, you take yours, open it up, inside you will find a $0 bill. I know, I'm confident that's the way it's going to go all the time. So I don't go, have you won the money? Oh, you haven't, what a shame. It's like each time you pick an envelope, you've got the $0 bill, you've got the $0 bill. That's because I'm left with this. I'm always left with this. It's the money. And there's an interesting, several mentalists have talked about, you know, if you do a bank night routine, it's good for them to get something. And to be honest, when I've got more time, and when I care, and when it's, I know I do have $0 bills printed with my email, with my website and email address on them, and those are what they get. So and that feels a little bit more. And it's amazing. Even last night, the people who got the $0 bills that I just make with a Sharpie, they still come up and ask me to sign them. So it still feels like something. I used to do a book. It was a John Archer commemorative book token. When I first did it, performed it at the Castle. I think Mike Caveney's got one in his collection. It was a John Archer commemorative bookmark, and it had a little photograph of me and my website at the bottom, and it was a bookmark. I changed it to a $0 bill. It just felt a little bit more jokey. But yeah, that's why I do it that way. Any other questions? Yes, over here. Can we get a mic over here?
You can pass it across.
Somebody's stolen a microphone. Emma, don't hog the microphone.
And double check that button's
had your
up.
question. Unless you've got another one, you don't get for it. Yes.
In your presentation on the final two options, you referenced both of them, and it looks specific. Is that just improv, or did you like go through and make like one thing for every possible final two options? It's improv that has become standard because it's happened so many times. So if sex and mine are left, there's a funny thing. If you've got to make a choice, sex and yours, it's like you've got to make a choice between sex and yours. I'm sure that's a choice you've always had to make, which sounds funny. If it's sex and nothing, I'm sure that's a choice you've had to make. It's for something. Something and nothing it sounds funny. You've got to choose between something and nothing, don't we all? So it is a little bit of improv. You've got to choose between yours and mine. I know what I'd choose, and it wouldn't be yours. So there is improv, but because I've done it so often now, and I've had and there is, people say to me, is the one envelope that gets chosen more than others? And there isn't. It really is random. I haven't really found that, sex usually does go. There's nearly always one person who thinks, I'm going to be the joker who asks for sex, because, and quite often, it'll be a woman who'll do that. And last night it was a guy who asked for it, but quite often it'll be a woman. I don't choose a woman till I always choose a man to start with, and then because of the jokes that I use with the guy, and then normally I'll go to a woman. If sex doesn't go, I will go to a woman again. How old are you? 14. You shouldn't even be asking any of these questions. And he just wants to know how to get sex. And then, is that your dad you're with? I'm sorry. So yeah, I do have a routine of doing it, and I do have options depending on what happens. You know, I mean, I don't like it. On Penn Teller, sex is chosen first. I hate that when that happens. The guy chose sex early on, and it means I haven't got that little thing to play with, because obviously there's a humour about that being one of the choices, and you know, and that's deliberate. So yes. Question over here. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Just about the envelopes. So you're saying you want seams that are 90 degree white, right?
No, they're not 90 degree, but they just sort of run at a high angle, close to the edge here. I don't know what it's probably like 5 degrees, you know, in. It's about like this. Well, I mean, it's the same as the gimmick, you know. It matches that. If you have ones like this, it means that your gimmick doesn't match up with it. If you make a gimmick like that, it doesn't match up. It just means that the lines on the gimmick match up where the side seams are, and they're less visible, they're less obvious. That's the only reason. Yes.
Love the Penn and Teller show, Fool Us, and
thank you.
You were the first one to fool them. A couple things. One, did you know at the time it was going to be such a huge event and you're going to get 2 million hits? Like, did you know that was going to be the consequences? And
Let's save that question for later.
Yes. Yeah, good idea.
Shall we?
We'll do that later.
Thanks. Great question, but we're going to ask it later.
Yes. Oh, sorry, we're getting a mic. Can we get a mic over here? You hang on to that one if you've got a question, yeah. Yes?
Did you say the name of the trick?
I call it blank night, as opposed to bank night. And I call it blank night because my thinking, well, there's nothing to see, so it's blank. You know, it's like a blank, clear presentation.
I hate doing arts and crafts, so it's available from Penguin.
It's available, yeah. I'm sure Penguin sell it. I'm sure they do, yeah. And you get a set of the envelopes, and there's nothing on the envelopes. I print these, but the envelopes come blank because I really encourage people to come up with your own routine. I know it's a strong routine, and everybody thinks, well, it couldn't be. But you know what? There are millions of routines out there, and it's much more fun to try and create your own routine with your own words. You know, it could be ex-girlfriends. It could be banks that you've been. There are millions of options that you can have written on here that could be funny. I think there's better routines than mine out there if people were just brave enough to play around with them. So they come blank, and I just, you know, I put them through my inkjet printer and just print them. If you're going to print your own, I would get some blanks and just print on them until you've got it right before you use the ones that you've bought. You don't want to ruin the ones that you've spent your hard-earned cash on. Did you have a question?
Yes, I just was curious. Was there ever a moment when, after your performance, that Penn and Teller asked you how you did it?
Yeah, afterwards they did. But again, we might talk about that later. We'll probably talk about the whole Penn and Teller thing in the interview. So, anything else? No. Thank you very much. Good. Okay. Do you know, I've always wanted to read people's minds. I've always thought it would be good if I could tell what people were thinking. When I was a little kid, I used to try and guess what people's first words were going to be. I'd see somebody walking towards me, and I'd guess, and I was usually right. It was usually hello. And then eventually I sort of gave up on it. I forgot about it. I thought, you know, I don't really want to do it. And I was several years ago, I was sort of lying in bed reading a magazine. There was a little advert on the last line of the magazine, and it said quite simply, "Would you like to read people's minds?" And I thought, how did they know? Exactly. So I rang up the number and I spoke to a lady. Funny enough, she was in America. I said, "Can you teach me how to read people's minds?" She said, "Yes, we can, but you're going to have to come to America. You're going to have to study at the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York." So I know, it's true. I left my job, I left my family, I came across to the United States, and I studied. I studied under Professor Hoffman. It was a difficult job. He was a heavy man. All I had to do to prove that I'd got the powers of ESP was to correctly name a playing card that somebody was thinking of 3 times in a row. If I could name the playing card that they were thinking of 3 times in a row, I would win the commemorative marker pen from the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York. You don't care, do you? Now, for 3 years I tried, but for 3 years I failed. But I failed in a very unusual way. You see, somebody would be thinking of the 2 of diamonds, and I would say the 3 of diamonds. Somebody else would be thinking of the 10 of clubs, and I would say the 9 of clubs. I was always off by 1 card. Never any more, never any less. Because if it was less, I wouldn't have been off. Does this make sense? Now, after 3 years of trying and 3 years of failing, it was time for me to leave. I was due to fly home at midnight. It was still 7 o'clock in the evening. I hadn't yet left for the airport. There was just me and Professor Hoffman left at the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York. We were up on the 9th floor, just one single light shining in the darkness. There was a faint drift of snow outside and the distant sound of Christmas carols. Very distant. It was April. I remember I had my bags packed and I was ready to leave, and as I walked towards the door, Professor Hoffman stepped in front of me. He held out his hand to shake mine, and as he did, he said these simple words. One more time, John. One more time. A little tear came to my eye. He was stood on my foot. I said, all right, I'll try it. Professor Hoffman got excited, animated like I'd never seen him before. He started rushing around the building trying to find people to help, but there was nobody left apart from the cleaner, Dustin. That was his name. So he brought him into the room and he sat him in a chair. He explained what was going to happen. Just think of a card and John will try and tell you what it is. The old man closed his eyes and thought of a playing card. I said, the 10 of spades. He was thinking of the 10 of spades. I'd got it right for the first time in 3 years. If I could do it 2 more times, I would win the commemorative marker pen from the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York. You still don't care. Professor Hoffman needed somebody else to help, so this time he went downstairs, all 9 floors, out onto the streets, where he found a little old lady doing the last little bit of Christmas shopping. She was late. Plastic bags were digging into her fist. She had a big fur shawl around her neck. And he brought her up to the 9th floor. He used the elevator. He's not a cruel man. He sat her down in a chair, and I remember he gave her some hot coffee, and she held it like this in both hands, because he had no cups. And he explained what was going to happen. Just think of a card, and John will try and tell you what it is. She closed her eyes, and a gentle smile came across her thin lips as she thought of a playing card. I said the Queen of Diamonds. She was thinking of the Queen of Diamonds. I'd got it right for the first time, again, in a row, twice. If I could do it one more time, I would win the commemorative marker pen from the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York. Thanks. Professor Hoffman needed one more person to help. He went outside again. This time he found a retired basketball player. A tall Jamaican gentleman. He was about 6'8", with a tight crop of grey curly hair. And he brought him up into the room. We brought him in. We banged his head on the top of the door. We sat him down. We mopped up the blood. And then we explained what was going to happen. Just think of a card and John will try and tell you what it is. As he sat in his chair, I stared into his eyes. We stared into each other's eyes for what seemed like hours. Until eventually, I said the 2 of clubs. A huge Jamaican roar came from his lips as he jumped up out of his chair. Yes, 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 he said, and he hugged me, and we danced. We're still together now. Because of that, ladies and gentlemen, I won the commemorative marker pen from the ESP testing laboratories in Buffalo, New York. Thank you. Thank you. Just a pen. Tonight, I'd like to teach somebody that skill that took me 3 years to learn. And it's going to be you, sir. What's your name?
Jerry.
Jerry, wonderful. Jerry, we're going to try a little experiment. I'm just going to get my pad. Jerry, I've made a little prediction here. In this envelope is a playing card. It's a big playing card, that's why it's a big envelope. Don't try and work it out. Google it when you get home. It's physics. Type in big playing card, big envelope. You get lots of hits. One playing card and one playing card only in the envelope. What I'm going to do is try and transmit what that playing card is to you. Now I'm going to try and do it a bit at a time, piece by piece. If I tried to do it all in one go, you would struggle. First thing we're going to do is we're going to transmit the colour of the playing card in that envelope to you. There are only 2 possibles. It's either a black card or a red card. I'm going to write it down here. Be perfectly honest. Do you think the card in that envelope is a black card? Or do you think it's a red card?
I got the feeling of red.
You think it's a red card? It is indeed a red card, ladies and gentlemen. Red. Yes. Okay, that could have been a fluke. Just a 50-50 hit. So listen, we're going to go for the suit now. We know that it's a red card, but we don't know what the suit is. If it's a red card, there are only 2 possible options. It's either a heart or a diamond. Say nothing, look at me, concentrate. You've been given a gift. Share it with the world. What do you think it is? Do you think it's a heart or a diamond?
It's a wild guess, but diamond.
That's a shame. You're starting to lose it now. But hey, look on the bright side. You were only off by one. That's how I started. Maybe all this stuff I'm doing is confusing you. Maybe all this, the writing things down thing. So listen, we won't write anything down. We know it's a red card. We know it's a heart. But what we don't know is the value of the card. It could be anything from an ace through to a king. I'm going to give you one more clue to help you out. It's not the ace. I'll tell you why. That's the most popular card. If you ask somebody to think of a playing card, 70% of the time they will say the ace. So to make it easier for you, I didn't put the ace of hearts in here, but I did put one of the other hearts. It could be anything from a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, a 10, a jack, a queen, or a king. For the first time, would you name what value do you think the card is?
7.
7?
Yes.
You sure?
Oh, yeah.
7 of hearts.
Oh, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the envelope, there is one card and one card only. It happens to be the 6 of hearts. He was off by 1! The thing is, I've done this so often, I knew you'd be off by 1 because I did write on the back very clearly that you would be off by 1. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is my take on Kenton Knepper's brilliant trick, Colossal Killer. I call it Komedy Killer. I got Colossal Killer when it first came out. It was Kenton Knepper and Larry Becker, I think, who came up with it. And there's various transitions that it's been through. Originally, you had to force just red cards. And originally it was the whole deck, and then you just had to force red cards. And it came with a wallet. And the off-by-one principle, which is beautiful, the off-by-one principle gives you the idea that any single prediction card can represent 3 cards. So obviously, the 6 of hearts can represent the 5, the 6, and the 7, because they'll be off by 1 if they choose the 5 or the 7. I loved the effect. There were a couple of things that I wasn't happy with, okay? This doesn't mean it's anything wrong with the trick. It just means I wasn't happy. I'm a big believer that you should always be 100% happy with everything you do on stage. If you're performing something that you don't feel comfortable either because it doesn't make sense, or you don't feel comfortable with the moves that you're doing, you should change it. And there were a couple of things I was uncomfortable about. First of all, I was slightly uncomfortable about the off-by-one thing, in that the original version of the trick, the way I was performing it at that time, was that you'd made a prediction of a card that somebody was going to pick, and then your prediction was wrong. You used to use a wallet, and you'd have about 13 cards in there that covered all of the red cards, and the hearts as well. And but then your prediction was wrong, but you knew you were wrong because you'd written that you'd be off by 1 on the back. Now, for me, that didn't quite make sense. It was like, well, if I knew I was going to be off by 1, why didn't I just put the right card in there? Okay? So I thought, well, a lot of times, magical, awkward things in magic, incongruity, what's the word? Them, thank you, I'm glad you're here. Suddenly we're like back at school, right? Sometimes those things can be justified through a story or through the presentation. So I started telling this little story about off by 1, so that when I am off by 1, it seems like I've deliberately made that happen for the comedy element. Does that make sense? So that's sort of how the story came about. But I still wasn't happy with the all of the outs in the wallet, really. And also on stage, I wanted something that worked a bit bigger. And then I realized that if I changed the concept of the trick very, very subtly, it meant that I could force one suit in what appears to be a fair way. And the thing I've changed about it is so subtle that it almost doesn't seem like it's there. But instead of me reading your mind, what's happening in the trick is I'm reading your mind. Sorry. You're trying to read my mind. Instead of me reading your mind, you're trying to read my mind. Okay? Now that sounds like a very subtle difference, and it is a very subtle difference. But it does mean that he can be wrong, right? And if he's wrong, I can tell him where he's right, so I can guide him to hearts. basically I just tell him it's a heart. That's what's happening with that routine. It doesn't matter what he says, I'm going to tell him it's a heart. And once I can tell him it's a heart, I can then get my prediction cards down to 4 cards. Okay? Once I eliminate the ace, which obviously isn't covered by the 4 predictions. And that's the way it works. So I tell the whole story being off by 1, which I think is a lovely bit of nonsense. But it in the minds of the audience, it conditions them that I was off by 1. There's this thing of always being off by 1. That's what's going to happen. Then I say, right, you're going to read my mind, and I show him the envelope. And this is just a 4-way envelope. There's lots of ways of making this up. I just cut the front half and flap from another envelope. So effectively, I cut that piece of an envelope away, and then I turn it upside down, and I tape it with invisible tape to the bottom of another envelope, so the flap's at the bottom. Okay, so now you're going in here, which is sort of the fake opening that I've made, and you're going in here, and then I have a divider in each side. So I've got 4 in here. So there's a little dot on this side. That tells me that's the start. So in here I've got the 3 and the 6, and if I open it up at this end, I've got the 9 and the queen. Okay, and these are just these are stuck down with my trusty friend, the repositional glue, which I love. So I have a couple of dabs of repositional glue on either side, holding these flaps down. So nobody knows when I start, and I just open it up the right way. So if I can open it up on this end and reach in, and I can either reach in above the flap, and I've got the 3 of diamonds there, or I can open the flap up the other way, so you can see the flap in there, and I've got the 6 in the other way. I don't show it on now, I just drop, and I drop the card out, so it seems like there could only be one thing that comes out of there. And equally, if I want the 9, I just go in above the flap here and take out the 9, or I can open the flap the other way and drop the, come on out, and drop the queen out. Okay, so I can just take either of the cards out, and they've all got off by 1. So obviously the 3 covers the 2, the 3 and the 4, the 6, 5, the 6 and 7, etc. Any questions at all on that? Pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. Good.
There is the one detail which I think everybody gets about the diamond and the heart, and that the heart is pre-drawn, but you're cueing the diamond.
The heart is pre-drawn, and actually it was Paul Wilson that came up with that gag for me. Sorry, I should have mentioned that, Paul. Paul Wilson started doing it. I think when I originally came out with this, I was just using a wallet. There's a really nice 4-way wallet, which is really hard to get hold of, and I'll tell you what, if you could get the rights to it, it's a brilliant wallet, which is the Roy Miller Miracle wallet. Have you seen it? And it's a Z-fold wallet. I haven't got it with me, unfortunately, otherwise I'll show you it. It's like a Z-fold wallet, but there's a note flap in each side. So it's actually like a 4-way wallet that just you open up and you can fairly. And that's how I was originally doing it. And I think, I'm not sure who has the rights to it now. I think Ray Piat had the rights, and then a guy called Evil Dan, not you, more evil than you.
I know Evil Dan.
Yeah. Evil Dan was making them for Roy Miller, I think. But they're hard to get hold of. But I was originally using that, and it was Paul Wilson that came up with the gag. And it is, of course, I just have this already written. And I don't do anything sneaky. All I do is actually, I just draw with my finger, so the pen's here, and I just, with my fingernail, so you get a bit of sound, which in a big theatre it doesn't matter anyway, but in this sort of scenario, it feels so, and I make it very, very exaggerated, so it's obvious that people think I'm drawing a diamond, and it's beautiful. And do you know what? This is another one, a little bit like the envelopes, that can play in lots of ways. What can happen is, I do the first bit, and I say it could be black or red, and I go like this, and I'm holding it. What do you think is red or black? And the guy might be a bit awkward, and he goes black. I go, all right, no, it's actually red. I thought you might have picked up on my subtle body language. And it gets a bit of a laugh. I say, but hey, don't worry, you were only off by 1. Sorry, it's not Medway. That was a trick last night. And then I might do the diamond, and he'll be awkward again and go hearts. And I go, hey, you're getting better. And it's like, and that's great when that happens, when they try and outthink me, and it is a heart. So depending on what happens is how I'll play with it. But I'm basically just guiding them towards hearts, no matter what's said or done.
Yeah, we do have a question up here. If we can have that microphone set up and make sure that switch is up. Cool.
the cards you use, I noticed you're not using the standard bicycle. It looks like they're a little softer, maybe not flimsy, but
no, these are just bicycle jumbo
thin
cards.
ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think just from an old bicycle jumbo deck. Yeah.
They
Take
might-
more note.
They might look smaller because he's a big guy.
I'm a big guy, yeah. But everything looks flimsy in my hands. Yes, we won't go there. Okay. No other questions. Great. Okay, we'll move on to another one. Great. I'm all right to carry on. I'm enjoying it. Okay, have we got anybody here? Anybody who's a movie buff? Got any movie buffs in? Yeah, Dan's a movie buff. Are you a movie buff? Any others? Yeah, a guy over here, movie buff. Down here, young fella here. You watch a lot of movies? I do. Excellent. What's your name? Jacob. Jacob, of course, Jacob. You did the timing. How's your watch?
Yeah, pretty weak.
Excellent. It is weak, isn't it? Jacob, come out here. Give Jacob a big round of applause. Good to see you, Jacob. Jacob, you know, when I was younger, all my friends were into sports. Obviously, I wasn't. You can tell that. I'm not a sporty type of guy. But they used to collect things like football cards or baseball cards. You know, the type of thing you put them in a book? I never used to collect them, but I was really into the theatre. You know, okay, I was into like the television and the theatre and movies. And I used to love it. And they brought out a set of cards called Stars of Stage and Screen. And I've got some of them here. They've got like there's a website and a design on the back, but they were all different actors from theatre shows and movie shows and television shows, right from the old sort of black and white actors, you know, Laurel and Hardy and people like that, right up to modern day people, or modern day then. And I used to collect these cards. You can still get them now in England. I don't know whether you can get them over here, but I used to collect them and I put them in a book, and I ended up with a lot of spares, and I thought we could try a little experiment with them. So what I'm going to do, Jacob, I'm just going to give you the cards, and in a moment I'm just going to have you to step across that way. I'm going to turn and look away, and what I want you to do is I want you to look through those cards, and I'm going to ask you to think of any one of the actors. You can look through them all and make sure they're all different if you like. You might see one or two that are the same because they're swaps, but make sure that they're all different, and then I want you to think of one of the actors or actresses. Don't do this yet. Now, it could be an actor or actress from television. It can be an actor or an actress from the theatre. They can be from the movies. Okay, and it can be somebody who's alive or dead, somebody you know really well or you don't know very well. But when you think of somebody, I then want you to think of a TV or a theatre show or a movie that they were in. Okay, and you can be obscure as you like, but so you're going to think of them, then you're going to think of them. Okay, so I'll just guide you through. Just look through the cards now. And what I want you to do is just look through them. Whenever you find a particular actor or actress that you want to think of, I want you to hold that card and just let me know when you found somebody. You found somebody? Yeah. Okay, listen, as you look at the picture of that person, is there a particular film or TV show or something that comes to mind as you look at the picture? Yeah. There is. Okay, can you also think of that particular movie or film or stage production, whatever it is? Try and think of all the details, soak it all in, get every little bit of information you can in your head. Have you done that? Yes, okay, and then you just shuffle the cards up and you can sort of just hand them back to me. That's great. Okay. So I'm going to try and work out who you're thinking of. This isn't a woman, is it?
No.
Okay. And still alive, yes?
No.
Oh, okay. Somebody. But not like old black and white movies. Quite. Yeah. So certainly within the last sort of 30, 40 years, it's not like it's not an old time. It's somebody. Okay. Okay, don't look at the screens or anything. This is what I think that he's thinking of. Yeah? Okay. Would you just tell us who you're thinking of for the first time? Christopher Reeve, that's what I've got here. Okay, that's great. Okay. Known for lots and lots of different movies, but some more than others, obviously. Just concentrate on the particular movie you're thinking of. Send me all the details. I've written that very badly. Does that make sense? This This is what I'm hoping to get because the rest is a bit obvious. What was the movie that you were thinking of?
Superman 2.
Yeah, Superman 2. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Thanks. Caleb, there he is. Okay. This is a cheeky little thing. It's sort of instant stooging, but it isn't really instant stooging because he does have a free choice. But I think when the person looks at the cards, I think the smart ones realise what's going on. Not all ones realise what's going on, so I'll explain it just for you, Caleb. Exactly. There is a little bit of that what I'm doing with this trick is I'm putting the audience member under a little bit of pressure. So that he can only possibly do what he has to do, which is to think of one of my force people. So what I've got here is most of these cards are out of work models. Okay, these are so you can see there I've got Rick Einhorn, which is close to Nick Einhorn, Rick Earhorn, and then I've got John Lonergan there. Each one has been given a false little name as well. There's Darren Gray, which looks a little bit like Darren Brown. But okay, so what I've done is all these cards. I've gone on the internet, and you can search for actors looking for jobs or models, models who are looking for stuff, and you find a picture of them, and they all have pictures of themselves taken looking like rock stars. All right, because they want to be. And then I just print a random bland name underneath them. But 10 of these cards are my force cards, and I'll take them out. I've got, let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got, is that all of them? Yes. So my force cards are Judy Garland. You can see that? Okay, and then I've got Christopher Reeve, and again the name's printed in a similar style. I've made these all myself because to sell them, you're just getting the copyright would be terrible. So you're gonna have to make them yourself or whatever. And you'll notice he's on a poster of Superman 2. You'll notice that Judy Garland is on reading the book The Wizard of Oz. The picture Tobey Maguire with the Spider-Man 3 logo there. Then I've got Clint Eastwood with a Good, the Bad and the Ugly poster, and Clint Eastwood at the top. And then I've got Sylvester Stallone, Rocky 3. So what happens was I asked him to think of one of these actors or actresses. Now, you might think, well, he's going to think of one of the other people. The reason he can't think of one of these people is, number one, he's never ever heard of them. So he feels a bit like, oh man, I've never heard of these people. This is terrible. What am I going to do? So you're feeling a little bit in a predicament. Then all of a sudden he sees Judy Garland or Christopher Reeve, and he goes, oh, at last somebody I know. Okay? Because he's just claimed that he knows everything about movies. And he thinks of one of these people. Then I say to him, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the picture, and I want you to, as you look at the picture of that person, does a particular film or production come to mind? And of course, he goes, yeah, of course it does. Because there's The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, or The Wizard of Oz. So he goes, yes, it does. And I say, well, I want you to take in all of the details, get as much information as you can about that particular film. So I make sure that he gets Superman 2 in his head. Because obviously Christopher Reeve, people only really know the Superman movies for him. Then all I have to do is I pump for the bit of information. As soon as I get a negative, I know it is. So the first thing I say, it's not a woman, is it? If he goes, yes, I say, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought so. And then I know it's Judy Garland. I say, it's not a woman, is it? He goes, no. I said, still alive? And he goes, no. So as soon as I know it's not alive, I know it's Christopher Reeve. If they say still alive, I then go, but he's quite an older guy. It's 60s, 70s, getting on a bit. If he says no, I know that it's Tobey Maguire. If he says yes, I know that it's now either Clint Eastwood or Sylvester Stallone. So I say, he's known for action movies, this guy. Yeah, that's right. So remember, all of these times I've had hits. It's not. It's a man. He's still alive. It seems like I'm getting hits. And I say action movies. I say sort of done quite a few westerns. And now, if he says no, I know that it's I know that it's Sylvester Stallone, right? Because Sylvester Stallone is not film westerns. If he says yes, I know that it's Clint Eastwood. So if he says no, I say, oh well, maybe not lots of things, but he has done a couple of westerns. Now, this guy doesn't know. I mean, he was panicking thinking about somebody at the moment. He's not going to disagree with me. You don't know who it is yet, so you don't think I'm wrong. I go concentrate, and then I write down. And of course, it's just I do that little thing of revealing it first, which is, I think is a nice move. So you get the two confirmations, and then you get the moment where you turn and he sees that you're right. So you almost get two moments, which is nice. And that's it, really. I made the cards myself. Like I said, just you spend a day on the internet finding pictures, and I made a false back design. These were never available in the UK. I make that up, you know. People don't know. They never had cards like this. You can say the same thing. You know, these cards. People don't know everything that's out on the market. So make something up. Say, when everybody was doing this, I had these, you know, and make up, you know, a company that made them or whatever. And I laminated them just so they last a bit. But that's it. Any questions at all on that one?
Yeah, no,
yes.
Do you just have those 5 in there and that's
yeah,
it?
Repeated twice.
Or, twice, that's what I thought.
So
you
basically,
said 10.
it's about every 3 cards.
Yeah.
There'll be a forced card, and then there'll be 3 random cards, and then the forced card. Judy Garland, I have them in the order of my thing. Mm-hmm. So, and Judy Garland rarely gets chosen because it's the first one they see, and they want to keep going and look at some. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, that's sort of how many I have.
Cool.
Good. Thank you very much. Okay, I've got a trick which I'm going to explain to you, but you can't make up yourself. But we did it last night. It's one of my favourite effects that I've come up with. It's a thing called Streets, and we can have a look at it now. Here it is. I do this for a living. I know it's hard to believe, but I do. I travel all over the world, all over the country. In the UK, I travel all over the UK. I do around about 45,000 miles a year in the car. Obviously, I tried walking. I was late for everything, but you know, I've got to know the country, in fact, the world, very, very well. Just because I've done so much traveling, I've almost got a psychic sense of direction. And I've realised there's only 2 things you need if you want to have a good sense of direction. The first one is a good memory, and the second one is a GPS. Basically, if you can remember where you've put your GPS, you're on a winner. That's the way it works. But when I first started doing this, I didn't have GPS. When I first started doing this for a living, I used to have to use the old-fashioned system of unfolding a map on the passenger seat. Sorry, passenger seat. I'm over here now. That would have been out the window, pointless. And then you have the route drawn on the map. And you'd follow that, and then when you got to a town or a city, you'd use a guidebook to find your way around. That's what we used to do. We don't need that anymore. We've got GPS on our telephones. We have it on our cars. We don't need it anymore. But people still sometimes use it when they go visit in a city and they want to have a guidebook to find their way around. I've got about 40 or 50 different guidebooks of towns and cities that I used to work in, and I didn't have GPS when I first started 20 years ago, so I used to have to use a book. And I don't want to throw them out. I don't need them anymore. They've all got memories. I brought 3 with me to try a little experiment. The first one I've got is an A to Z of London. If any of you have ever visited the British Isles, this is the most common guidebook that they will use, and the A to Z is probably the most common one, and A to Z of London probably the most common of all of those. And I've worked in London many, many, many times. Then I've got a Michelin guide to Paris in France, where I once did a show for the Paris Magicians. And I've got a sidewalk travel guide of Boston in Massachusetts, where I once came over here and did a show for some businessmen. Now, I want to try a little experiment, and I need a lady to help me, somebody who hasn't been involved just yet. This lady here with a lovely little scarf on your head. What's your name? Raven, excellent. Raven, would you just turn those books for me? Raven, would you just have a look at them and make sure they are what I say they are? In other words, make sure they are guidebooks of London, Paris, and Boston. Make sure that all the pages are different, all the roads and streets are different. That Paris is Paris, Boston is Boston, London is London. They're just genuine guidebooks of those 3 cities. Happy with that, Raven? Excellent. Raven, if I asked you to choose one of those cities, I could make an educated guess you'd probably choose Paris. I'll tell you why. It's what women, ladies, would normally choose. Out of those 3 cities, they would normally, and I don't want to sound sexist, it's just true. You're like, it's the music, the art, the food, the French accent. Oh, hello, my lovely Raven. If you ask a man to choose one of those cities, we'd probably say Boston, because we want to drink beer and watch baseball. It's just the way we are. Okay? Just out of interest, Raven, if I said to you, which city do you want to go and visit, which one would you have said? It would have been Paris. Do you see how easy this is? It seems like I'm giving you a free choice, but I can tell what you're going to choose. So listen, let's make it random. Give me a number 1, 2, or 3. And again, don't rush it. Change your mind if you want to. 1, 2, or 3. Number 3, okay. Turn the books over. You will notice that I've numbered the books on the back. On the back of each book, there is a number in a circle. Can you tell me which is book number 3? London. Was that random? Yeah, I couldn't have known you were going to choose book number 3. If you'd said book number 2, would you have got Paris, and book number 1 you'd have got Boston. Excellent. So listen, hang on to London. I will take Boston and Paris back off you. Wonderful. Here's what we're going to do. In a moment, you're going to choose a random location in London. I'm going to try and tell you where you've gone. Okay? Have you been to London before? You haven't. It's a beautiful place. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to turn and cast my eyes askance. That is a medical term, meaning my eyes will be scantily cast. Could be over there, could be over there. I'll leave something totally to chance. I'm a risk taker. While I'm looking away, Raven, I want you to open the book up at one of the map pages. Okay, the first half of the book. Don't open it up at the index at the back. One of the map pages. Now, if you're not happy with it, maybe it's too busy or too quiet, you can flick to a different one. When you find a page that you're happy with, Raven, I want you to start looking at all the different roads and streets. Now, you can think of a big street going through the middle or a tiny little one in the corner. It can be an avenue or a crescent. I don't mind. But don't choose a numbered road like we have motorways like M40 or M25. Choose a named road or street. When you've got one, Raven, I want you to close the book and shout, "John, I'm ready," as though you've just cooked tea or something sexual is about to happen. I don't mind which, to be honest. I haven't eaten tea. I will then turn round and attempt to tell you where you've gone, Raven, in the whole of London. Do you understand? Excellent. Raven, do your worst. Away you go. What she's doing now, she's looking through the book. She's finding a page. She finds one. She thinks, no, I'll go to a different one. So she does. Then she starts looking at all the different roads and streets. And she reads one. She thinks, no, I won't think of that one. I'll think of a different one. So she reads another one. Eventually she finds a road or a street that she likes. She reads it to herself. She reads it again so she doesn't forget, because that is almost as annoying as getting rid of an ace of spades. Then she closes the book and she shouts, "John, I'm ready." That wasn't tea, was it? John, I'm ready. Okay, let's get this finished as quickly as we can. Okay, you're thinking of a random location somewhere in London. Excellent. This is difficult. Because it's difficult, I'm going to try and get it a letter at a time. I'm going to go for the first letter of your chosen location. Imagine the first letter on a big white flag. Big white flag flying from a prominent building. The first letter of your chosen road or street. Ooh. 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 No. Reverend, I've written a letter on my pad for the first time in a nice loud voice. Don't tell me the name of the road or the street. Just tell me the first letter. What's the first letter? M. M, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. No, I actually got E. Was that the flag you were thinking of? It was a white flag. I got the flag. I got the flag. Come on. Raven, there's a few reasons why this could have gone wrong. First reason why it could have gone wrong, I possibly got a little bit of mental interference. Owen gets that. What I mean is, even though you were thinking of the first letter of your road or street, I possibly got another letter. Now, that's not too impressive, because E appears in a lot of street names. Second reason why it could have gone wrong, I'm not very good at doing the trick. Third reason why it could have gone wrong is you're possibly not very good at thinking. Let me finish. Let me finish. You're not very good at thinking of things literally as words and letters. You're an artistic sort of a person, aren't you, Raven? Yeah, maybe not so much now, but in the future. You're going to meet a tall, dark stranger with a set of crayons. What I mean is, you're much better at thinking of things as pictures. I bet when you go shopping, you don't have words in your head. When you go shopping, you have pictures. You can see the last few granules of coffee in the jar. You think, I need more coffee. You can see the crumpled up packet of cornflakes in the drawer. You think, why do I put my cornflakes in the drawer? You can see the 3 empty bottles of vodka in the bin. It's 4, isn't it? You think, that's why I put the cornflakes in the drawer. So here's what I want you to do, Raven. This time we're not going to do it thinking of words. We're going to do it with pictures. You're going to visualize the whole moment when you looked in that book. You're going to visualize when you started looking through it. And maybe you saw a page and you went to a different one. Eventually you found a page and you started looking at all the different roads and streets. One of them, for some reason, you decided to think of. There was nothing in the book telling what you do. It was a totally free choice. You closed the book, you shouted, "John, I'm ready." I'm going to try and dive into your mind and pull out a thought. Here we go. Full picture. Think of the whole picture. Send it to me. Whole picture. That's good. I can hear children playing. There's a school nearby. Ooh. That's good. There's a church. I can hear church bells. And a railway station. Okay. Raven, I've written the name of a location on my pad. It's too late for me to change my mind. I would appreciate it if you don't either. That does spoil the trick. I'm going to hold it out there at finger and thumb. I'll tell you why. I used to hold it here. People would come up after the show and say, John, we know how you do that trick. You've obviously got a felt-tip pen in your belly button. And when Raven says the name of the road or the street, you do secret belly button writing on the pad. Believe me, if I could do that, it's better than the trick I'm about to do. Raven, while the pad is held out there at finger and thumb for the first time in a nice loud voice, would you shout out the name of the place that you went to, anywhere in the whole of London? Where did you go? Meadway. Meadway. Not Meadway Street, just Meadway. It doesn't matter. It's too late. Raven, did I speak to you before the show started? Did I give you any secret, special, magical instructions? Did anybody else come up to you before the show and give you any secret, special, magical instructions? No? I've got the wrong Raven. She could have gone anywhere. She could have gone to London. She could have gone to Paris. She could have gone to Boston. She made a totally random choice of book number 3, which happened to be London. Over 15,000 unique destinations in each of those cities. She went to any page in the book. She chose any road or street. You checked, all the pages were different. All the roads and streets were different. We arranged nothing. She went to Meadway. I didn't stand a chance. I'm not Chris Angel. But I did write down here, Meadway, there it is. Yes! Yes! Thank you. Give her a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is my book test. I call it Streets. I don't really think of it as a book test. Really, I don't think it quite feels like a book test, even though it is effectively a book test. I think it feels more than a book test. It feels more like a sort of remote viewing type thing. And the reason I came up with it is I used to do mother of all book tests a lot, all the time. I used to love it. But the big problem I have, not just with that, but with any book test, is sort of, it's always that thing of justifying why you're using a book to get a word chosen. You know, it always seems a bit, for me, and you know, for a serious mentalist, I think you can justify it a lot of the time in various ways. But because of the type of style I am, it seemed a bit strange that if you were going to get somebody to think of a word, why not just say think of a word? So I wanted a reason to give them a book, and I thought, well, what if the book made sense to give them? What if they couldn't actually think of what you were asking them to think of without that book? And of course, with the guidebooks, that makes sense. And if they've got a guidebook, you can't ask them to think of a random city, a random road or street in a city without a guidebook, unless it's a city that they know really well. So it sort of makes sense to give them. And so I designed these books. The first one I designed was the London one. This is a genuine London A to Z cover that I put on. When you buy this, it comes with a cover that says Streets, because, you know, copyright-wise, you can't put this on, but you can put it on your own copy. So I take a genuine A to Z cover and put it on. But the actual book itself is all gaffed, and it's gaffed in such a way that every page it uses sort of the UF Grant newspaper prediction thing, which I think then mother of all book tests are various used. That idea of, you know, once you got the first letter, you know what the word is, because there are only in here 25 different streets that they can think of. Okay, so once you know the first letter, you know what they are. And I actually designed this book myself. I don't know whether you can get in and see that, but I drew all of these maps myself on the computer, and each page is different. All right, which is why, you know, if you want to go and make this yourself, good luck to you. This this took me about I think this book took me about 6 months to draw and design, between going in doing gigs and stuff, and you know, and it is based on a London A to Z. But you will notice when you know that you know, for example, Red Mile Road is the R word, and it's not always, it's in a different place on every map. So there's Gladstone Street here, but also these little ones. So on each individual page, you'll really never have a street repeated. If it is a repeated, it's in the opposite place, so you'll never find it. So when you ask people to examine the book and you know, look for a random road or street, they can look through it, and it all seems very fair. And it's the same with the Boston one. The Boston one came second because I realised that a lot of magicians doing it wouldn't want to necessarily use a London book if you were around the world. So this is the Boston one. This is based on genuine Boston streets. And again, I did this. This took me another 6 months to do this one. But this is based on sort of roughly what Boston looks like. So you know, anybody who's from Boston, I don't think I've ever had anybody was from Boston. But if they look through it, you know, unless they went looking for their own place, they wouldn't find it. So all I need to do is force one of these 3 books, then find out what the first letter is, and I do it by a gag. There are lots of other ways of getting first letters. You can do it without doing gags. You can you know, get the first letter and not show them it, and then go for the second, and then show that you've got them both right. But I need to force the book, and the way I forced the book last night was I do the thing of saying, you know, I could make a guess that you'd probably go for Paris, and a lot of times that throws them off because, you know, women don't like to think that you can read them, so they go, oh no, well actually I was going to think of London. But Raven, who was helping last night, she went, yes, I would have thought of Paris. So what I do is I then ask her to give me a number 1 to 3. And this is just a little forcing thing I came out of. If she gives me the number 1 or 3, I ask her to look at the back. And on the back of the books, I've written numbers. So 1 or 3, you know, if she thinks of 1 or 3, she's going to get London or Boston. If she says number 2, because she hasn't looked at this, I say, well, if you open the books up, you will notice inside the front cover, I've written a number on the inside of the front cover. And then when she does that, she will find that she ends up with Boston, because Boston is book number 2. Okay? So I can force either London or Boston just by using that. Then find out the particular first letter, and I can get the street that they're thinking of. Again, for the streets, I have cribs on the big marker pens. I haven't got them to hand, but it's the same thing. I've got those big chunky markers, and they've got the crib on. So I just take out the correct crib for the street. So if it's London, I take the London pen out. If it's Boston, I take the Boston pen out. You'll notice on that performance that I'd got the first letter, and I'd written it down, and then I went, right, now think of the whole thing as a picture. And I went in my pocket and took the pen out again. I actually took the wrong pen out. Now, that wouldn't happen normally in my show, because normally in my show, the pens are clipped in the back of my savant next to the magic square pens. So I take out the London one, and I've just got that pen. I put it in my pocket, and then I just take it out again. But because last night I wasn't using my own table, I had the London one in my left, L for London, and the Boston one in my right, B for right. I just remember L for left. So of course I just took the London one, but of course by habit, because I put it back in. So which is why I sort of did that thing of putting it back in my pocket and thinking of it again. But that's basically the method. It is available. It's called Streets. You know, if you want to make it up yourself and you've got a year to spare, you've got my blessing. But it's not easy. Otherwise, I'm sure Penguin sell it, don't they?
Yep.
Excellent. Any questions on that routine? Any questions at all? No. Thank you.
Yeah. The only
good.
The only question that I would have for it is, what do you do when you do nail it? Do you normally draw the E flag? And
yeah, I normally do the E flag
yeah.
because I like the gag.
Yeah.
I like the gag at the moment of getting it wrong. It suits my style to get it wrong. I've seen other people do it where they'll say, now this is difficult, I'm going to go for the first letter. Why doesn't everybody in the audience try and work out what the first letter is? We'll see how many get it right. And then everybody think of a letter, and everybody thinks of a letter, and I pretend to write one down, and I don't write anything down. I don't do this, but this is how you could do it. And I say, what was the first letter? And she goes, oh, it was M. And I go, interesting. Anybody else get M? And a few people, I say, oh, you'd be very good at this. Let's try and get the whole street now. Okay? And then go and get it. So you can do it like that, and that seems like, you're just getting the audience involved for a little bit of the information, and then you go for the whole thing. And there are lots of other ways. Like I said, there's one thing where you go concentrate on the first letter, and you don't write anything. And you go, what was the first letter? They go, M. And you go, yep, that's what I got. And the audience laugh a bit. And you go, concentrate on the second letter. And now you write M and the second letter. and you go, what was the second letter? E, and they go, yep, that's what I got. And the audience go, oh, come on. You go, no, really, I got both of them. Look. So there's lots of ways of doing it, really. Whatever suits your style of performance.
Yeah, but you know, and then you know, on the point, if somebody, if it does begin with an E, you just take that credit for that and rip it off and then go to the.
To be honest, I sort of prefer it when it doesn't. I prefer getting it wrong. I prefer because I like that. I like the old Walker sort of analogy of, you know, making mistakes and lowering the audience's expectations. Mm-hmm. We had a great comedian, who was not much of a magician, called Tommy Cooper. I don't know whether you know him over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know Tommy Cooper? Great. Tommy Cooper was basically a comedian, but he was a comedian who claimed to be a magician, and everything went wrong. But now and again, Tommy Cooper would do something that worked. And when it worked, he got a fantastic response. And the reason was because the audience expectation was so low that when he did something, it jumped right up here. Whereas if their expectation was up here and then he got something, it didn't jump anywhere. And it's like, I always call it the Tommy Cooper principle. It's, you know, and I think it's the same with the thing. I want the audience, I want to lead them along the path. And because of the type of act I am, they don't think I'm going to get these sort of things. So I like, you know, so I love doing that thing of I didn't stand a chance. I'm not Chris Angel, you know, she could have picked anything. I've got the wrong person. And then when you get it, there's that, you know, you've led them down this path of always just messing about, and then, wow, you got it. So I prefer it when it isn't the letter E, really, for that reason. Good. Okay, I'm going to show you, thank you. Right. I'm going to show you one more thing that is relatively new to me. I haven't got a routine for this yet, but I want to share the move with you because I think it's got lots of possibilities. Okay, so I'm not going to do a routine with it. I'm just going to explain. I'm just sort of going to explain what it is, if I can. And it's basically it's a billet idea using an envelope. Okay, so it's a way of getting a piece of information from a billet. I've never been a fan of you know when people put a billet in an envelope and have a stack of envelopes, and one of them's a flapless envelope. You know that principle? So you place the thing in, and then you pull out the real envelope, and the information's in the second one. I think that works for certain routines. I think if you're doing a routine where you're using lots of envelopes, Luke Jamais has a great thing where he has one in a window envelope, which really clever stuff. You should look it up on his DVD set. I think it's on the set, the latest set that's been released. But by and large, I find it a bit strange to put things into a stack of envelopes and then take the envelope away. Again, it's sort of not how normal people would do it. Normal people would just put something in an envelope. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if you could sort of steal some information out of an envelope and yet the envelope was examinable sort of at the end. So I came up with this idea. So you would have your billet and get some information written on it. For the purposes of this, it doesn't matter what it is, and I'll just write something in here like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4 on there. And then you can show an envelope, okay? And you take this off them and you have it folded up, and they've given it and they fold it back up, and you can say, look, there's no way I can see through this. You can hold it up, and then you're going to place it into the envelope, and you can show the billet going into the envelope all the way through like this, and you can seal it down, and you can show your hands very fairly empty. And you can put this down, you can do whatever you want to, but whenever you need to, you can steal out the information, and you can give them the envelope. They can take the envelope now, so you can take that, and you can feel the prediction in it. You can examine the envelope. There's nothing to see, but I've got the information. Okay, I've got the billet that I need, and you can't see anything wrong with the envelope. And the idea for this was basically, I thought about stealing it out from a slit, and I thought, well, the problem is then there's a slit in the envelope, and how do you get around that so that, you know, but I wanted to be able to give it out. And then it struck me that if the slit was actually underneath the flap, then the flap would hide the slit. But then, well, how would you get the information out? But I realized if you put a slit in the envelope, I think you can see this here, there's a slit there, but it is just below, or just above slightly, the line of the bottom of the envelope. Can you see that? So when this is sealed, the slit is hidden. Okay? Now this has already got a billet folded inside, so when I hand it out to somebody, it'll feel the same. Then all I need to do is ask somebody to write some information on my thing, very badly written upside down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Could have been done with a nail writer, that, couldn't it? And this is then folded up and given back to me. Now when I go to place this in the envelope, all I'm actually doing is I'm placing it in the envelope, like so, and it's immediately coming out of the slit, yeah? Okay, so I can then turn it, as I did here, I started to put it in. I can then turn it here, and my fingers are hiding where it's going. I can show it going into the envelope. I can turn it back, and I can lick it and seal it. Now what happens is when I lick it, I'm in this position, I lick it. Beautifully done, John, thank you. And then I fold this down, and I stick it down. Now the envelope doesn't stick to this little bit here, but it's actually stuck right above it, so there's only a tiny bit that isn't stuck, and that's held. Now I can hold that for as long as I need to in that position. As soon as I want to steal it out, all I'm going to do to steal it out is I'm literally just going to rotate it, and it goes straight in the finger palm. Yeah? And then I can just check that that's sealed, and now I can hand that out, and I've got all the information stolen out from the envelope. Like I say, I played around with lots of routines with it. Michael Weber gave me a lovely idea of getting 3 bits of information written on one billet, so you get several things, and I'm playing around with that, but I haven't really got anything, and if I did it, it would look crude. But I did want to share the routine, the idea with you, because I think it's got lots of uses if you want to steal some information out of a single billet. Any questions on that?
No,
yes.
I love it. Yeah. There's a question back there. If we can get a microphone back
question
over there. While that's happening, I sort of do have a question, and maybe it's a suggestion kind of a question. Have you played around with instead of making that slit, carefully making a tear there, so that later, when you tear that off, it destroys it?
The only problem, I mean, what happens is when I then tear this up, I actually tear it below the thing, so it's not seen anywhere. I have tried doing that. The problem is putting that tear in neatly, so it's just below the line. Because if it's too far up, it starts to stick. You want it just below the level. And also, if you do it with a craft knife, you do it very neatly. Actually, it doesn't show up. It sort of stays almost close together, so long as you don't open it too much. So I can, when I originally did it, I did actually show both sides, and you sort of nobody spots it. So yeah. Troublemaker, yes.
That would be me. What if you wanted to do a reveal? So, like, going off of what Dan said, if you had somebody tear it open, you had already taken. Yeah, no, what I normally do is I get the information here. You would read this. So, in the past, the way I've played with it, and I have played around with doing things, is this: I would open this up behind a pad. So I would get my pad, I would open it up, I would write down the information that I think I'm getting. And then as I put the lid on the pen, this gets folded up back in. And then somebody's been holding this to the head. I ask them to give me it back, and I load this behind it. So as you get this gets loaded behind it. So I'm now in this position, okay. And that's literally you just sort of open it like a book with your hand. So it's in palm. Sorry, I'm moving the wrong way, aren't I? So it's in palm, and you sort of open it up like a book as this goes here. So it looks like this. You just doing that, but what's actually happening is that. Okay, so it gets loaded behind the envelope, and then I'm gonna get rid of the evidence. So I now tear this off. Okay, now the slit and everything's thing. Now it looks like I'm gonna go in. I reach in, but actually my finger goes in, but my thumb from behind goes, and I just pull out, and this is the real one with the information on, and I can read it and open it up, and it'll say 1, 2, 3, 4 on it. Okay, so that's how I would normally go to take it out. Sometimes, depending on the routine, sometimes you don't have to confirm the information. So if I've got 3 bits of information on it, I might get 1 and they say, yes, that was right, get 2. And then the third one, you're right, you say, hold it, you don't show it, you take it out, and you go, that's the one. You show all 3 bits of information, and then you show what's on the pad. It's always nice to have the third one different. Nice. Thank you. That's it.
Excellent. Keep it going for John Archer. John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Big round of applause for you, and you can come over here and join me. Yeah, excellent. One of the things that I love the best about being able to work in this new format is that we get to see your performances with the live audience, from the previous night's show, and it is great because even though your methods and your routining and the structure and all of that is so good. It's really more your interplay with the audience. You said yourself that you love just being, where people are on stage.
Having said that, this audience tonight, they were great. They were lovely. They were, they didn't feel too much like magicians.
No, they were having a good time. But I think that's due to you too, right?
Well, thank you. But my style is that I do play with the audience. I do ad-lib a lot. I think I don't ad-lib as much as people think. A lot of my ad-libs are well-rehearsed ad-libs.
Yeah, stuff that has come up and that
that I've
stays in.
used before and worked. So,
Yeah.
lines like when I ask somebody to stand up and they're not a very tall person, I'll say, is that as high as you go? That was an ad-lib one night. It got a laugh, so I keep it in. So whenever I get somebody... And, and you've got to, you're always judging what lines you use with which people and what you can get away with, and treading a careful line of not upsetting them. But I look at all the people I'm picking on, and I check that they're smiling at me and stuff like that. But yeah, I do enjoy playing with the audience.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very playful, and you're also very quick on your feet because I mean the thing with Jacob's watch.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure that doesn't come up often.
No, I've never had a watch that's underpowered. No,
yeah,
that's a first.
Yeah, all this technology at our disposal, and that's the thing. So let's talk about Penn and Teller Fool Us to begin with. You were the first guy that fooled them, but you were involved before anybody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So how did that all come about?
Well, I mean, literally, the production company were making a pilot of this show, and they got in touch with lots of magicians in the UK. Lots of guys. We were all getting the call. Do you want to be on the show? And a lot of people were dubious, obviously, because we hadn't seen the show. We didn't know what it was. We didn't know. Penn and Teller had a bit of a. I mean, we love Penn and Teller in the UK, but they had a little bit of a reputation of they might expose bits and bobs. Do they expose things? Do they not? Right. Are we going to look bad? And the production company were great. They give everybody reassurances that they want you to look good. And I was unsure. It all happened very, very quickly. It's like, do you want to do this? We're doing auditions next week or whatever. Come along. And I sort of made the decision. Yes, I'd do it. But all the magicians, to be honest, we were all talking to each other. And at that time, we didn't know what the show was. We sort of thought it was impossible to fool Penn and Teller. Mainly Teller. Everybody sort of says Teller's the magical one. I mean, Penn is smart. He's seen a lot. I mean, certainly in the early days, you might have got stuff past him, but I think he's smart now. He might not do a lot of the stuff, but he certainly knows it all.
Oh yeah.
So we all thought it might not be possible to fool them, really. And it was only, several people had gone out on the show before me as we were filming it. And I don't know how the situation is now, but they kept us separate then. So once you'd been out, they took you to it. So you weren't allowed. So if somebody fooled them, they didn't go back in the same room.
They totally do the same thing. You
so
never know.
So you don't know what's going on. You don't know who's fooled them. And then I went out, and just before I went on, I sort of managed to get a word with somebody. I said, "Has anybody fooled them yet?" They went, "No, nobody." I went, "Oh, great." And I knew Ben Earl, who was the other one who fooled them in the same show. He sort of went on a couple after me and fooled them. I knew he might fool them because he had an amazing routine that was just like, when you know what he was doing, it was impossible to believe. But I really didn't know. The only thing, Johnny Thompson is the main guy behind, watching it, and he'd seen my Magic Square routine, and I think he wanted me to do that. And he said to the producers, his Magic Square routine's very funny. But I knew that wouldn't fool them. Right. I mean, it wouldn't fool my wife. Mind you, she wouldn't sit through it. But I wouldn't let her. But I stuck to my guns and said, no, if I do anything, it's got to be this envelope routine because it's the only thing I've got which I know is a new method. And I didn't look at Penn and Teller when I was performing the trick. I didn't look at them for the first 3 minutes. I literally, they sit in the middle, and I was nervous. I don't get nervous a lot, but I was nervous then. And I'd look at the audience over here, and then I'd go over the heads, and I'd look down here, and I'd look down there. I never look at them in the eye until about maybe about the third envelope. I think. I mean, if you watch, you'll probably be able to see. And I made a joke, and I looked. And Penn was his head was going back and he was laughing, but Teller was just like that. He was just burning my hands, and I thought, oh my word. And
he's on to me.
He really, he really takes it serious. He wants to spot what's going on. And I knew that he'd be ticking off the methods in his head. I knew he'd be saying, oh, well, he's not using this, and oh, he hasn't used that, and he hasn't done that. And so when at the end I took all the money out, and I could see him, he sort of went like that, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, we didn't really have a clue how it was going to go. And they were great, and they were great afterwards as well in the editing process. They were sort of like, if there's anything you're really, not happy about that was said or done, let us know. And there's a couple of lines that I said I'd prefer it if that wasn't in, that you talked about, the method.
Sure.
Not things that were the method, but things that were clues to the method, like the gap.
Yeah.
And said, your teller's already said, that'll get taken out. So they are.
No, they're very, very good about protecting.
They want the magicians to look good, and they want magic to come across well. But of course, it was unknown at that point, so we were all a bit wary. Now it's a much safer show to go on now. You know exactly what you're getting, and if you've got a trick and you think you can fool them, get on it.
Yeah, and now part of that being fooling them is that you get to perform at their show. So you were probably close to the first or whenever it worked in your schedule.
Me and Ben Earl went out I think the pilot was filmed in the December. It went out in the January, and I think we went out to Vegas in the June.
Right.
And we spent a week there. I took my wife, and Ben took his girlfriend, who is now his wife. And and we spent a week in Vegas and hung out, and we actually performed. And there was sort of this thing of you open for Penn Teller, you don't.
Yeah, they
you don't
publicize
open
it that way.
They open for you. It's weird
Yeah.
because they put you on at the end of the show.
Right.
And they sort of, and I remember they did this thing where they said, at the beginning he said, we've got a special thing tonight. We've got 2 guys who fooled us in this show in the UK. You can hang around if you want to see them after the show, and they're going to come on after us. And then they finished the show as normal and said, that's great. We're going to do one more thing now while we're reset. If any of you need to leave, you can go. And we've also got some people who want to come in just to see these guys. And it was then that sort of, I found out that Matt King was coming in, and Chris Kenner was coming in, and all the magicians from Vegas were coming in to see who were these 2 punks who'd fooled Penn and Teller.
Yeah.
And Jason England and Derek Delgadio. There was loads, and all these people were in, and sort of all the audience, of course, why would they leave? There's these 2 guys who fooled Penn and Teller coming on. It's free, an extra bit of the show. So nobody left. So it was packed. There was people standing, and and I got to do my thing. And obviously they wanted the trick that fooled them, plus a couple of other things. So I did my balloon swallow routine, which I haven't done today, but I did that, which is a sort of standard balloon swallow effect. I did the magic square. And I did the envelopes, and it was great,
Oh, bad. In a beautiful theater and a huge audience. And
do you know what? I love American audiences. American audiences are so much easier, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. They're much more responsive than British audiences. I always feel sorry for magicians that come from America to England to perform, because English audiences start in a different place to American audiences. You normally, American audiences come in with we've come to watch a show and we're excited. And normally American audiences start up here. And if you're not very good, they end up down here. British audiences start down here of okay, you impress us and we'll get up there. But you prove it to us. And you see American magicians go out at British conventions hey, how you doing? And the audience are well, we'll tell you when you've done something. So it's much easier for us to come here and do stuff than it is for American magicians to go over there. So of course, for me it was great. I've got an American audience. I mean, Americans tend to love the Brits, and we love Americans. We've got a good relationship going on. I mean, what will happen when Trump gets in, I don't know. But we've got a good relationship going on. And then not only are there a great American audience, there are American audience who are fans of magic. That's a plus. And then they've come to see a magic show with Penn and Teller in it, and they're in the perfect theatre for doing magic.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and it's 1,500 or whatever, how many it holds. It was one of the best experiences of my life. I wish they'd invite me back again. I really do.
Right. Yeah. Well, it sounds fantastic. Now you've pretty much always been drawn to performing, haven't you? I mean, even early on, but you weren't a magician. You started out singing and.
Yeah, I started off sort of semi-professionally, originally in bands, playing guitar and singing. That's why I've got the ukulele in my act now, really. I'm a slightly frustrated rock star. we went out last night after the show to the bar across the road, Hound Dogs or whatever it's called, and I got up and sang Johnny Be Good at the karaoke. You can't
complete with all the moves and everything.
Yeah, I did all the moves.
I don't know if anybody recorded it, but I hope so.
I don't think they did, unfortunately. That would probably sell better than my lecture. Yeah. But yes, I started off in bands doing, singing and playing guitar, and I used to crack a few jokes between songs, and of course magic was my hobby, and it got to the point where I was in a double act with one guy, and I sort of said I'd love to do a trick between a couple of the songs, and that's how it developed. And that's a really safe way to get into it, because if you do comedy and you're a singer in a band, if the audience don't laugh, it doesn't matter because you're there to sing, you know.
Sure.
So it was a really safe way for me to try out and find my feet a little bit and start to discover who I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when did you start making a transition into performing? And was it more magic related? Because a lot of people don't realize, a lot of magicians don't realize that you're a mentalist. You don't like to be labeled that way, but everything that we've seen and everything that you taught is mentalism.
Pretty much
but
everything I do
is
it's
so
mentalism.
entertaining and so funny that I think it transcends the label. You know?
Yeah, and also I am a mentalist, but a lot of people don't think of me as a mentalist.
Right.
You know, so I don't get invited. A lot of the sort of, you know, the mind reading conventions I don't get invited to because, you know, I'm not thought of that way, and I don't mind that. I really don't care what labels put on me. You know. Lay people sometimes just refer to me as a comedian, and yeah, I'm doing, you know, everything's a magic trick that I do, so I don't care what I get called. But yeah, it's sort of the mentalism came in really, I think, because I mentioned earlier I like tricks that use people, and I can talk to people, and I think mentalism is ideal for that thing where you start talking about themselves and concepts and thoughts. And it doesn't use a lot of props. I mean, you know, I don't have anything that looks like a magic prop. Everything pretty much, and by and large, most of the stuff you can buy from, you know, Staples or Office World or whatever. It's just, and that developed just because I realised those were the type of routines that worked for me. I would happily do a magic trick that wasn't mentalism. And I've got some, you know, a few routines in my head that I'm thinking about doing. I have no problem with mixing magic and mentalism. For me, it's just I'm a guy who does things that don't make sense, and I do it in a funny way.
Yeah.
So I haven't got a problem mixing mentalism and magic. I know some people have. I think if you present yourself as a serious mentalist, then it might be a bad idea to do a magic trick because suddenly it's like, oh, hang on a minute, he's that type of guy. You know, if you want people to believe that's what you're doing, then stick to just that sort of stuff. But I'm not interested in that particularly. I'm happy for people to see me do whatever that works for me.
Yeah, and there have been some very successful straight mentalists in the past who also then did stage magic in their act. They usually separated it out, but typically, let's see, when you're performing this kind of stuff, this doesn't happen to you very often. But I'm thinking of a performance that you told me where you got a gift from a lady. At this performance of something unusual.
Do you know what that was? Yeah, it's the funniest thing that's ever happened to me. And I did a show for a company. They were a typesetting company that used to do telephone directories. The typeset advertising directories for telephone.
I actually worked for them designing speculative ads. I was
a
graphic designer.
In the UK, we have a thing called Yellow Pages.
Yeah,
I don't know
we had them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was a
company that did the adverts for Yellow Pages, and they asked me one Christmas to do a show for their managers. So I went and did the show for the managers. There was about 30 of them in a room, and I killed. It was a fantastic show. So they said, you know, the next year they said, we'd love you to come back, but we're doing it for the whole company this time. There's about 300 people. And these were all the office staff and the workers who worked in the typesetting rooms and everything. And the room that I was in, they'd opened up some separate doors that went into a bigger hall, and all the management were in this bit about the size of this room, and then these doors opened with all the rest of the workers in the other bit. And these guys didn't care about what was going on. So when I got introduced, you know, the management were expecting this guy who killed it the year before. I went out, and it was just noise, and it was just chaos, and, you know, people laughing and dancing, and, you know, and talking at the bar. And I was trying to do my act, and nobody was listening to me. And these managers at the front were like, what's happened to you? You were great last year. You know, and it was the same act, but it was just... And in amongst this chaos, I'm trying to get through, this woman got up, and she sort of had long dreadlocks with beads in her hair, and sort of, you know, flowery dresses. She looked like, you know, sort of somebody you'd find at a rock festival. And, you know, a sweet woman, nothing wrong with her, but she walked up and she was carrying a baby. And she walked up, and then, so I was performing, there was a little bit of a dance hall. She walked right up to me, and I'm in the middle of a routine. She said, excuse me, will you just hold this for a minute? And she gave me a baby, right? now, the thing is, right, if somebody's asked you to hold a baby, right, everything in you holds the baby. You can't go, I'm not holding your baby, right? What do you do? Somebody holds a baby, you go, oh, all right then. So I just took it, and I'm stood at the microphone holding a baby, and she went to the bathroom. She gave me a bit, and she went like that. I'm literally sat there holding the baby. And as I sat there and I said, well, this is nice. This baby's sort of gurgling and laughing. It was happy. And I'm talking. The audience didn't care. And so I talked and I said, well, is the father of the baby in? Does anybody else want the baby? Nothing came. And I just chatted to the baby. And I put the microphone to the baby. I said, look, the baby's happy. And then the woman came back and she said, thank you. And I gave the baby. She walked back and I carried on dying. And that was it.
Yeah.
Terrible. I think it must have been a bet. I think somebody had said, I dare you to go up. And, it must have been.
Something, yeah.
But it was crazy.
You've also done a couple of television programs that have won the equivalent of the Emmy, the BAFTA Awards, over in the UK. What are those programs about?
Well, one of them was I was just a writer for a thing called The Sketch Show, which was literally just a sketch show of comedians doing sketches. The comedian I told you that I had tour with, who's my best friend, he was in it. So, and whenever he does TV, I tend to write for him. So we wrote on that. That won a BAFTA for, I think best comedy one particular year. And then we won a children's BAFTA. Do you have children Emmys for children's shows?
I don't. Yeah, he's saying no. I don't know for a fact.
Well, in the UK they have what they call children's BAFTAs, which are just BAFTA awards for children's television shows. Right. We did 3 seasons of a show in the UK, which had different titles. The first one was "Help My Supply Teacher's Magic," but you would call a supply teacher a substitute teacher.
Right.
So it was "Help My Substitute Teacher's Magic."
Yeah, and the concept of that is.
The concept is that we pretend to be substitute teachers. We have hidden cameras in a classroom, and these are just little kids sort of between 6 and 10 years old. I don't know what level that is in your school. And they'd get introduced, we've got a substitute teacher today, and we'd go in and we'd say hi, and we'd start teaching a lesson, and we'd make something happen. Something would float or vanish or change, and we'd say it was a new type of science, or it would be a new type of mathematics, or a new way of learning a subject. And we'd have animal things and all sorts of stuff. So we did 3 series of that. The first one was "Help My Supply Teacher Is Magic." The second series was "Help My Supply Teacher Is Still Magic." We had to start wearing disguises for that series because the kids were starting to recognise us. And then the third series was "Help My School Trip Is Magic." Now I don't know what you call a school trip.
Field trip.
A field trip.
Yeah.
So the concept with that is the kids would go on a field trip and we'd be working wherever they went. And that's funny enough where we filmed one at Ripley's, believe it or not, and that's where I saw the Laura Buxton story while we were filming, because we filmed in Ripley's, believe it or not. We pretended to be staff working at Ripley's, and we made strange things happen for the kids. And the second series of that, which was "Help My Supply Teacher Is Still Magic," that won a BAFTA, the children's BAFTA as well. That was Anthony Owen, who of course is behind a lot of the Darren stuff.
Right.
Anthony Owen was the producer on that. And,
sure. Now, you've also had at one of the conventions, you had your entire act stolen from your car while you were at Blackpool. How long ago was that?
That was quite a while ago.
Probably because now if somebody steals your whole act, you just go to Staples, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. But you know what? That was in the days. This was probably about 15 years ago, and that was in the days when I used to do lots of prop gags. I used to have lots of visual gags. And I had a full-size skeleton in my act. I remember I'd competed in the competition, and one of the gags...
Now, was this packed up in such a way that whoever stole it had no idea they were getting a skeleton?
Yeah, it was in a big flight case, because it was a medical skeleton
imagine that?
and a stand, and it was about this big, and that went, and I had props in there as well. So then I've opened it up and just seen this real skeleton in there. They must have freaked. But the gag was, I had the skeleton on a stand, and it was dressed. I used to have a shirt and trousers on it, and it had a playing card in its pocket. And I'd get a guy and I'd say, pick a card, and the guy would pick a card. I'd say, great, go and stand over with the other guy over there. As though, it's going to be a long time before I tell him what the card was. But, so the whole thing, thankfully it got stolen after I'd done my performance. So maybe it was a magician who thought it was such a great act he was going to steal it, I don't know. But, I mean, to be honest, it was my fault. I mean, Blackpool's cleaned up a lot more. It was a rougher town then than it is now. It's cleaned up a little bit. And also, I was parked in a sort of dark alley, and I should have, I don't park in the same places anymore. But
did you have anything that looked appealing? Like, it's happened to me before out on the road.
No, not really. I mean, the broken in just speculatively, I think.
Just a bunch of trucks.
Most of the stuff was in the trunk of my car as well, so you couldn't see it, but they'd actually broken in, then they pulled seats from the front and gone in and taken everything out. And nothing that would have been, any good to them. But, I was doing mother of all book tests then, so that went, it's just like it's a book, but it's an expensive book.
Yeah, and they,
and they wouldn't know it. I mean, they'll have ended up thrown away. But, I mean, the magic community rallied round and, things that I'd got that I couldn't get, there was like suddenly people were saying, I've got one of these, you can have this.
Yeah. Was this in the middle of did you have shows lined up then?
No, I had shows lined up the following week, not at Blackpool. So I'd done the Blackpool competition that I was competing in. And then it got stolen, and I think I won. I think that was the year I won the comedy at the Blackpool thing. But then it got stolen. I realised it sort of slightly spoiled the convention because I was having to sort out the whole thing with the police and get the car repaired and windows redone. But then I quickly had to get everything together before I had shows sort of within about 4 or 5 days' time from then.
Sure.
Find
a skeleton or find somebody who is going to leave a skeleton so you can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, the skeleton I only had for that one gag for the competition. It was,
so the last time you did that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it was. It was. I did it once, and that was it. But now it wouldn't be so bad. Now, I could pretty much. I think I could go to Staples and get enough stuff for me to do an hour.
Sure. Yeah. Now, when I had asked you about tips for other performers, you had mentioned that they should be braver on stage and try new things and listen to the audience. So can you expound upon those a little bit?
Yeah, I think sometimes people aren't brave enough to just try out their own routines. They sort of, like I was saying earlier on with a blank night thing, I think a lot of people will just think, right, I'm going to do his routine, something, nothing, yours, mine, and sex. And they won't be brave enough to say, well, I'm going to, come up with my own words and try and write on my own script. And also just being braver to, to try ad-libs. Nobody can ad-lib perfectly right from the start. I always think it's, ad-libbing and being quick with your mind comedically is a bit like a muscle. It gets better the more you exercise it. So when I decided I wanted to ad-lib more in my act, I deliberately left gaps in routines where I could ad-lib. So I deliberately left spaces where I would chat to a member of the audience and try stuff. And you know what? So long as you've got a skeleton of a routine, sorry, I mentioned skeletons again. So long as you've got like the bare bones of where you're going to go, you can have a moment where you go off and start talking, like we did with a watch. But I know that if that doesn't go anywhere, if that watch thing isn't going anywhere, I can immediately come back and say, right, this is what you need to do, and move on. And I think just be brave. Just try chatting to people and try saying things. A great thing to remember is a lot of times if you're thinking something, the audience are probably thinking it as well. Yeah. So if you see something that looks funny, if you see the way somebody's dressed or the way somebody's reacting, if you see that and think that's vaguely unusual or funny and mention it, the audience are probably thinking it as well, and they'll probably go with it. So don't filter too much. I mean, sometimes you have to filter. You've got to filter that you're not going to be racist or sexist or anything else. But don't filter too much that you just become bland. So be brave enough to say things, and and pull back, and I think that's what I mean really, of just being a little bit bolder and
Yeah. And now, do you think that it's probably important to mention that somebody has to be pretty solid in their routines and material to be able to come back to that safety zone?
You've got to know exactly what you are doing so that you've got the freedom to go off and and know that you're coming back to something. I wouldn't suggest you do it with new routines.
Sure.
When I have a new routine that I'm working on, I always have a rough outline of where it's going to go. I have almost like bullet points of things I want to hit. And then I'll ad-lib between those points. And those ad-libs become part of the routine until eventually I've got a full structured routine. But I won't ad-lib too much and go too far off until something's really solid. I'll just go a little bit at a time. And each time I go a little bit further off and a bit further off, keep pulling back until this thing gets fleshed out. So I'm just putting meat on the bones.
Yeah, and you said to me that you like to insert those new routines about a third of the way into the show or so.
Well, a third, sometimes more than that. Sometimes a half to 2/3.
Yeah, okay, so even further.
So if I have a new routine, you see, some people write a routine from start and they write it all, they get it exactly, this is the routine, then they go out and do it. I don't do that. My routines are, I have, like I say, a rough, I call it skeleton. It is like a skeleton routine of where I want to go. And then when I've got it to that point, I'll be doing a show, and if it's a show with a good audience and I'm going well, I'll have it on my table. I think they're great. I've still got a third of the show to go, so if it doesn't work, I can pull them back. But I've had enough that I've got them. I'll then pick up the new thing and I'll try it.
Yeah.
And I'll play around with it. It probably won't be a long routine. It'll be quite short at that point, and then it slowly gets thicker and meatier as each time I perform it.
Right.
But if I'm doing a show and and it's on my table and I think this audience are hard work, I'll just stick to the solid stuff and it stays there.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's a great way to do it. Now let's talk about one last thing, which I think is some really great advice when it comes to script writing, putting together a presentation for a routine. You have an acronym.
Yes.
That's really great. That dials it in on what's necessary.
Yeah. I always say, people ask me about how to make the act stronger and better and stuff. And people often talk about, an act should get a director. You often hear that. You should work with a director that really improve you. But nobody ever says you should work with an editor, right? And I really think editing is massively important. And editing stuff so that everything is strong in the act. And the acronym I have is on fire. Fire, always make sure your act is on fire. And basically that is, everything in your act should be either funny, interesting, relevant, or entertaining. So when you look at anything you're saying or anything you're doing, it doesn't have to be all of those, but it must at least be one of those. If it can be 2 or 3 of those, great. But if it's none of those, then it shouldn't be in the act. And you can be somebody playing the tambourine there. You can be you can do a billiard ball routine. And it's possible to do a multiplying billiard ball routine that isn't funny, which it shouldn't be, I suppose, but it's not.
Oh, you haven't seen mine. Okay, go on.
but it's not interesting, it's not relevant, and it's not entertaining.
Right.
And if it's not funny, interesting, relevant, or entertaining, why is it there?
Yeah.
So look at everything you do. Things like, would you like to join me up on stage? That might be relevant for a routine, but it might not be. It might be that they can stay in the audience. They might not have to come up on stage with you. So when you look at the act, look at every line you say, everything you do. And the problem with magic is, and especially mentalism, there's a lot of process. Sometimes there's lots of things that have to be done. And that process is necessary. But if you can make that process funny, or make that process interesting, it's like when you're getting the cards looked at, make it funny, getting the people to stand up, make it funny, make it interesting. If you're not a comedy act, make it interesting, make it relevant, make it entertaining, make it theatrical, make it powerful. Don't just say things or do things for the sake of it. And what happens is when you get rid of all those moments, all the interesting bits and all the funny bits and all the relevant bits and all the entertaining bits get pulled together. It's like a concertina. They all get pulled together. So what happens? You have an act that is it's got no fat on it. It's just meat all the way through. And that's what you want. And you get that. And so just remember, I want to be on fire. Funny, interesting, relevant, or entertaining. And it's great. Watch a video of yourself and you watch moments where you go, what's happening now? And I'm guilty of it. I watched some of these things I did last night and I go, I could have got rid of that little moment or that little moment. It's not easy.
No, you always have to be watching.
But you watch the great acts. You watch people like Matt King or David Williamson. And there's not a dead spot in their act. There's not, every single moment, it's something is going on. You don't have a moment to just sort of coast and look at your phone. It doesn't happen.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic advice, and we do see it in your performance. Us watching you perform from last night, I don't think that we thought there was a dead moment in the whole thing.
Well, I mean,
right?
that's what I aim for. But I mean, I think it's always good to be looking to to improve, and it's all levels of good, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with us. Another big round of applause for John Archer.
Thank you,
John. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.